What's up? Ghost Fictions is here and we're back again. This is a story where Issei got cheated and was replaced. A betrayal. What can a betrayal change? A lot of things. Betrayal done by friends and worse family can change a lot of things for a person. It can change on how people perceive things. Fortunately for our protagonist, it didn't go that far, or so it would seem. Issei Hyoudou, a man who was once a loyal member of the factions and had a lovely life, was deceived and betrayed by his own friends and lovers. Just when he thought his life was going to be peaceful, he was betrayed by a man that pretended to be a friend. Now what will happen to Issei? Will he be living a happy normal life, or will the factions annoy him? Let's find out. But before we start, please consider subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Don't forget to check the description for more informations. Now, let's get into part 1. The quote from many. The saddest thing about betrayal is that it never comes from your enemies. A boy was seen on the ground laying in pain. He had coughed up blood. He couldn't believe that his death had come to him in such a manner. This was none other than Issei Hyoudou, as he spoke. So this is my life that was come to be. Issei muttered in his last moment as someone rushed to his side. It was a woman who had black hair. She was a beautiful young woman with a voluptuous figure, very long black hair and violet eyes. Her hair is usually tied in a very long ponytail, reaching all the way down to the floor with 2 strands sticking out from the top and sloping backward, with an orange ribbon keeping it in place. Issei, hang in there. Akeno exclaimed with fear and despair, tears pooling in her eyes. She was afraid of losing the man. She didn't know how this happened. All she knew was that Riaz and some of her peerage members were being distant towards him. She didn't understand why, but she needed to know a good reason. All Akeno saw was him collapsing and coughing up blood all of a sudden. She didn't know why, and when this happened, she tried her best to use healing magic, but it had no effect. She then spoke with tears dripping like raindrops in a sadder and desperate tone. Tell me, how did this happen to you? Akeno asked while crying, as Issei could only raise his hand, unable to speak from the sheer pain that he was going through. Drake soon responded with the gear coming out. Akeno, it's not pretty on how this happened. But tell me something, will you watch this without being biased towards your whore of a master? Akeno was worried by this, as she asked, unaware of what had really happened to Issei. She then spoke. Drake, what happened? Please tell me. Akeno was even more afraid as the Welsh dragon didn't say anything and showed him a shocking truth. It showed Riaz and several other girls that loved Issei giving their first to a blonde-haired boy whom she recognized as clear as day. She could be seen gritting her teeth in fury as well. Upon seeing the memories of Issei, it was clear that Riaz and the rest of the girls present, which comprised of Asia, Zenobia, Elmenhold and Kaneko. But to her surprise, she even watched the girls from the Citri peerage like Momo, Ria, Roroko, Tsubasa and Tomo. She was horrified to know that Momo and Ria did the deed with Naruto, especially when Momo liked Jinshiro Saji. I can't believe that the bastard did something like this. Akeno exclaimed with fury, as Drake responded. Indeed he did. That fox believed that Issei didn't deserve someone like Issei. He always hated my partner for his simple crime of being a pervert. Yet, he makes the girls that like him betray him in such a manner. Did you see Issei going after any of the girls, even when his fear was cured? Did he try to make inappropriate advances with any of you or get physical with you? Akeno shook her head, knowing how the man deceived them in that manner. She and many others welcomed that man with open arms when he came out of nowhere. The man was named Naruto UZUMAKI. He had no parents and was alone. When he came here, almost everyone had accepted him with open arms. Issei was no exception to this. However, the man suddenly grew a hatred to him when it was revealed that he was a pervert. Despite the hatred, Issei kept calm and was actually friendly with him. However, soon several girls started to keep their distance from him. Issei didn't know why, but he gave them space, understanding that their college can be stressful, along with those that have new work. He didn't bother them too much. However, when he even tried to make small talk, he was dismissed immediately without a second thought. But they could talk to Naruto. Sure, he understood that he was from a different world and they were more curious, but they couldn't even spare a minute for him. If it wasn't for some girls like Roswas, Irina, Kuroka and of course Akeno, he would have been lonely. Not to mention, there are people like Jinshiro Saji and Azazel that somehow made time for him, the latter being harder to do so. Even Yusaka managed to have small talk with him, where she apologized for being too busy, since she also had to be with her daughter as well. Issei understood her situation, as he accepted it, but she did say that he can visit her anytime he wants to do so, such that they could spend proper time together. Issei accepted this, however the other leaders were too busy for him. Even his sister Mary spoke to them and frowned upon the girls focusing their attention on Naruto too much. To her, it seemed like they were getting too fond and close towards each other. She wanted to confront the girls, but she was stopped by Issei, who decided to speak for himself. Mary reluctantly agreed as she was asked by her mother to get some groceries for her. He found them gone. He checked their phone to find out they were in a hotel. Deciding to follow him, he entered the room and saw something horrifying that would shock anyone. The girls were cheating on him. This includes the girls mentioned like Ria's Asia, Zenobia, Elmenhold and Kaneko, along with the Citri girls like Momo, Ria, Hiroko, Tsubasa and Tomo. They all claimed that Naruto was a better boyfriend unlike a pervert like Issei. They seemed to hate Issei completely, claiming that Naruto was a better man than Issei. Issei was heartbroken as he headed to his home. However, soon Dragon's Fall kicked in and he was in this situation where the first person that found him in this state was Akeno. And that was how they got in this situation. Akeno tried to contact Azazel, but it went to voicemail, meaning he was busy with his faction. She then immediately contacted Mary to head over here, as the older sister of the hiatus immediately rushed. She was a woman that has long, wavy dark brown hair and bright brown eyes cascading around her shoulders, with soft curls framing her face. She wears a stylish outfit consisting of a delicate lacy white top and black leggings, accessorized with bracelets and earrings. She grew horrified to this and rushed to Issei as she exclaimed, "Issei, what happened to you? Who did this to you?" Mary spoke with tears in her eyes as she looked at Akeno for answers, with her explaining everything to her, which caused Mary to seethe in anger as she radiated her aura, with her shouted, "I will kill those bitches." Mary was about to rush out when Akeno grabbed her hand and spoke, "As much as you want to, your brother needs you. Call Azazel sensei and get him here. We need to save Issei." Akeno spoke with a reasonable tone. As Mary nodded, she immediately contacted Azazel using Issei's phone, knowing that his sen saved his number in an important location. She knew Issei's phone password and he unlocked it. She called Azazel from Issei's phone and he picked up. "Hello? Issei, is there something you need?" Mary then spoke with a despair-filled tone. "Azazel, it's Mary, his older sister. Issei needs your help, come fast as you can." Mary exclaimed, to which Azazel, upon sensing the tone, immediately spoke. "I am on my way." Azazel soon teleported to Issei's home as he exclaimed, seeing this state. "What the hell, Issei, what happened?" Drake responded to him by speaking. "It was those girls, they betrayed and cheated on him. They preferred Naruto over him for a boyfriend. I saw him and now he is suffering from Dragon's Fall. The infamous disease that happens when a mate betrays a dragon, dear God. How could they do this without any empathy? If they wanted to break off their bond, they could have told them. He is perverted, but he won't take advantage of him. Seriously, doesn't that girl Riaz think of the consequences?" Mary then responded angrily and coldly. "If that red-haired bitch did think of this, she wouldn't have even cheated on her boyfriend. And now my brother is suffering because of it. Mary, calm down, we will find a way. Worse, the evil pieces are making it more painful. We need to get rid of this, and then it is up to Issei." Mary looked at him and asked what he needs to do. "He needs to get rid of those feelings he has for the girls. Until then, both of you try to keep him alive and even call the other girls if necessary. Reduce the pain if you can. I will get the device to remove his pieces." Azazel spoke in response as he teleported out of there. The girls decided to heal him as much as they can, reducing the pain, allowing him to feel relief much to their happiness. Scene change. Grigori, 6:30 p.m. Azazel located the device, sighing in relief. He then spoke with a slightly apologetic tone. "Sorry Ajuka, I need to use this without informing you." Azazel was about to head out when he had a run-in with Vali, who asked, "Azazel, you seem to be in a hurry, where are you going?" "I am on an urgent business, Vali. Don't disturb me now." Azazel spoke with a cold tone, to which Vali asked, "What happened?" "Vali, it's Issei. His life is in danger." Vali grew concerned, to which he asked, "What happened? Are we under attack?" "No. Vali, it's a long story. I can't explain it now, since he needs help. If you can bring your team to the Hyoudou residence. All this is happening because of Naruto." Vali grew surprised. He was aware of the one-sided hatred and anger of Naruto towards Issei. He then spoke, "UZUMAKI, what did he do?" Vali asked with slight confusion, to which Azazel sighed. He knew Vali is not going to leave him that easily. He explained everything, shocking and angering Vali. He hated Gremory for what she did to him. Albion then spoke. "That disease, I never thought Drake's host would go through it. He needs to forget his emotions for them, Azazel. I am aware, and that is our biggest hurdle." Vali contact Kuroka, she clearly loves him and would want to save him. "Do it fast." Vali nodded and immediately contacted his entire team. He did care and respect his rival, and there was no way he is going to let him die, such a death like this. Azazel teleported back, leaving Vali to contact his team. Scene change. Hyoudou residence, Kuo, 7 p.m. Azazel reached the location, where Issei was a bit relieved as he asked, "Hey kid, you there?" "Why yeah, the pain's still there and is worsening." Issei grunted in response, to which Azazel spoke. "Worry not, let Azazel sensei help. It's a good thing that me and Ajuka alongside Athena were developing this device. It will get rid of your evil pieces, although it may be painful. Anything better than this pain. Issei spoke as Azazel activated the device. He opened his shirt revealing 8 pulsating glowing orbs in the form of pawn pieces as the trio gulped in horror. Mary spoke with fear. Azazel, this is his pawn pieces. Akeno spoke with worry as she continued. I believe you are aware of his reincarnation, right? Yes, I am. Mary spoke with seriousness, remembering his reincarnation into a devil. She understood what this meant as Azazel spoke. This means we have to remove all 8 pieces. Issei, brace yourself. Issei nodded and braced himself for the pain as Azazel spoke. Both of you destroy the pieces as soon as they come out, they can react violently. The 2 girls nodded as Mary activated her 2 sacred gears, Tilo's Karma and Innovate Clear, with Akeno doing the same, which was activating her Holy Lightning. Azazel clicked on some of the buttons in the device, which caused the first piece to spring out from his body, with Issei screaming in pain. Now, Azazel exclaimed as Mary generated a light blast that destroyed the piece completely. She looked at her brother that was writhing in pain as he spoke. We need to do this 7 more times. The girls nodded, they could only hope Issei handles this. Azazel repeated the same thing as another piece came out, this time Akeno destroying it completely. The girls nodded as they could only look at Issei solemnly, with Akeno muttering hang in there, ice. Issei, who heard this, gave a smile despite the pain, which caused her heart to flutter. She was now even more determined to save him. Another piece came out as Mary destroyed it with a light blast. The girls smiled at each other as the 4th piece came out every time when Azazel pressed the buttons. Now, Akeno destroyed the 4th piece, which resulted in the piece shattering, while Issei was taking deep breaths as he exclaimed. Hi. How do you feel, Issei? Azazel asked, to which Issei responded. After those bursts of pain, my pain was less than the time before those pieces. That's good to hear. Azazel spoke, to which Mary crouched to his position and kept her hand on his cheek as she asked. Do you want to take a break? No. It's time we end this. I don't want to be bound to someone that didn't care for me. Akeno crouched to his level and spoke. Ice, I am. No, Akeno, you don't need to apologize. If it wasn't for you, I would have been in a much worse state and I owe you my life. Akeno shook her head as she spoke in response. No, Ice, I would have done this for you anytime. You have put your life for me under risk many times. And I would do anything to keep you alive, cause I love you. Unlike Riaz, who was not only spoiled to leave you for Naruto, for no reason aside from perversion. I am here for you, and soon I believe the others would also come. Thank you, Akeno. Akeno gave a genuine smile as Mary spoke in response. Yes, Akeno, because of you my brother has someone that truly cares for him. Akeno smiled in response. She remembered on Mary absolutely distrusting her due to her fallen angel side, fearing that she would stab her brother in the back. Eventually Mary started to have faith in her, and now, with what Mary said to her today, it really made her happy. Girls, now I think it would be best if we continue what we were doing. Azazel spoke as the 2 girls kept their distance and Azazel activated the device, and once again a pawn piece comes out, with Issei screaming as Akeno destroys this one. Only 3 pieces remain. Azazel pressed a button and another piece came out as Mary destroyed this one. Soon Azazel spoke in response. Only 1 piece remains. Mary Nee, shall we do this together? Akeno asked, to which Mary asked. You never called me big sister before, that's a first. Well, let's do this together. Mary responded as Azazel pressed the final button as the final pawn piece came outside. The 2 girls looked at each other as they unleashed their attack, destroying their pieces as they exclaimed. Ha! The piece was destroyed as Issei screamed the last time before breathing a sigh of relief. He then weakly got up as Akeno and Mary rushed to him and assisted him and made him sit on the bed of the room. How are you feeling, Issei? Issei responded with a smile. The pain is gone, guess now I am a complete dragon now. Issei spoke as Azazel responded, you are, kid. I guess it is better than being serving under that spoiled brat. Issei nodded in agreement as he wondered what is coming for him next. Akeno then spoke, Azazel sensei. Akeno asked to her teacher as he responded, yes, go on. Akeno spoke in response. Would you remove my piece too? Akeno, this will. Akeno cuts Issei off by placing her hand in front of her, speaking. I would rather be a fallen hybrid than be a devil fallen hybrid. I don't want to associate myself with her. If she can stab you in the back, she can do the same for me as well. And she was able to manipulate Asia, Kaneko and even Zenobia to commit this deceitful act. I don't want to be manipulated by her hand to do this. Please, Issei, I no longer want to remain her queen. Issei remained silent as he spoke in response with worry. Fine, but please be alright. Akeno nodded as she lied on the bed. Azazel gave a nod knowing what he had to do. Scene change. Goru and Issei Hyoudou were in their room relaxing, as suddenly they started to fall unconscious, with Miki speaking. GG Goru, what's going on? I don't know, Miki call Marier Issei. Miki nodded, believing that this was a supernatural attack. She had to warn her children before it is too late. Goru also was going to do the same, but they couldn't take it anymore and passed out. The doors suddenly opened, revealing Ria's Gremory, having a smirk on her face. This was all part of her plan. She decided to do something that would make sure Naruto gains everything and Issei loses it. Oh, worry not, mother, father, you will only have one child, and that would be Naruto Uzumaki. Ria spoke with a sinister grin. She could be seen manipulating multiple memories, knowing full well once they wake up, they would neither be seeing Issei or Mary as their children. She soon sensed the connection to her pawn and queen piece gone, as she exclaimed. No. This can't be. Ria's tried to reconnect, but found there are no pieces at all, gritting her teeth in anger, knowing that Issei has found his way to get rid of his pieces. But he is not the only one, Akeno did so as well. Akeno never liked Naruto, she kept her distance from him and went to that foolish Issei. She hated on Akeno, her queen and best friend, choosing Issei, and she is not the only one. Irina, Kuroka, Ravel and Roswis did the same as well. Neither of them had the reason to be with Naruto over Issei. All of them chose Issei, and she hated this. She wanted them to choose Naruto because he was way better than Issei, at least in her eyes, that is. She was glad that at least Asia, Kaneko, Elmenhild and Zenovia listened to her. She immediately contacted her brother and informed him of this. As she knew that today would be the day the factions would get rid of Issei and give Naruto the boosted gear, believing that he is worthy of the gear than Issei. Scene change. Issei, Akeno, Mary and Azazel were in a different room alongside the volley team, Sayerg, Ravel, Roswis, Irina and Claire Phoenix, and finally Jinshiro. Saji, who had to lie to Sona to get here. They all got the news of what the girls did, and needless to say, they are furious and saddened by what had become. Kuroka was affected the worst since one of them was her sister. I can't believe you would do this. Dishonor one of the most sacred laws in all of Yaokai kind. Kuroka spoke with sadness and anger as Jinshiro asked. Sacred laws, I am lost. It's a sacred yet simple law. Kuroka explained in response to Jinshiro's question. Our kind, both Indian and Japanese, are known to be very loyal and kind to our mates. The ones we want to choose to spend the rest of our lives with. We often frown on those that choose a sacred union and then deceive a partner completely, and worse, if a Yaokai does cheat on his or her partner, he or she is treated as a pariah, a scourge of the faction. Despite what she has done, and although I don't condone her actions in any manner, my fear is that the Yaokais would disown her immediately. Well, she wasn't part of their faction to begin with. Mary thought with anger, having no empathy for the younger sister of Kuroka. She understood Kuroka's pain, but she had this coming for listening to Ria's Gremory. Issei Naya. I am sorry for what my sister did. Issei shook his head and responded. No need to apologize, Kuroka. Although I have no feelings for her, in any manner. Kuroka was surprised, to which Drake responded. He did the ritual, which gets rid of any feelings he has for a mate that betrays him. He even got rid of the evil pieces that was in his body, and before you ask, it was Azazel's doing. I see. Even then, I still never expected this would have happened. She could have chosen to broken her off her relationship with you. But she chose to do this. I am pretty sure it is Gremory's doing. Kuroka spoke sadly, to which Arthur responded. It is Kuroka, I have a feeling it is. She has been in her life for a very very long time, and she pretty much sees her as an older sister figure, isn't that right, Mary-san? Correct, Arthur. She was highly influential and made many dependent on her. I have seen this with Asia, who was easily influenced by her. She was the one who turned Asia against Issei, and I have noticed this. She wants people to be dependent on her, and with my little brother on her peerage, she even tried to get him to the situation. Arthur nodded, to which Issei didn't say anything and looked down. She betrayed him when he least expected her to do so. Sure, they were separated and distant, but infidelity was the last thing he expected. Akeno then added in response. That is why I got rid of my queen piece. If she can betray Issei, who is to say she wouldn't do that to me? I never liked or was interested in Naruto. I don't understand why Rias and her allies chose to betray him like this. He even tried to flirt with me, but I often avoided him like the plague, preferring to stay with Issei when he needed me. Akeno spoke in response, as she gave a smile to Issei, who nodded in response. Roswis then added in response. In that case, remove mine as well as Azazel-sensei. If Rias can betray Issei, then who is to say she won't do the same, and I am not interested in some random blonde dude who Rias claims he is better than Issei. Roswis spoke in response, as Azazel understood what he had to do, but there was someone else speaking in surprise. Please remove mine as well. Azazel was shocked by Jinshiro Saji asking this, as Issei spoke. Saji, you sure of this? Sona isn't like Rias. I don't trust her, you know I have feelings for her, right Issei? Jinshiro spoke, to which Issei nodded as he continued. If Rias can play with your feelings, who is to say Sona won't do the same? They are best friends after all. I fear that they may go after Keiho and Jengo to get me to comply with their demands as well. I don't trust her, Issei. Issei only remained silent as he continued. Azazel-sensei, please remove my pieces too, I would rather be a dragon than remain a human. Azazel looked at him and spoke in response. Anyone else wants to remove their pieces? Kuroka raised her hand and spoke. Me as well. Very well, step on. Let me remind you the process is painful. So if you wish to back out from this, go ahead, no one will judge you. None spoke in response, as Azazel spoke after taking a deep breath. Let's begin then, Roswas, please lie on the bed. Roswas nodded, as suddenly a mobile phone started to ring. Issei looked at his phone, to which he looked at it with anger. Mary, seeing his anger, asked. What happened? Mary looked at the called ID and grew angry as well. She then spoke, that bitch. Issei spoke in response. Mary Nee, what should we do? I would suggest to take the call. Volley spoke in response, to which Issei asked. You sure this is a good idea? Let's see what bullshit she has to speak. Volley spoke in response, as Issei picked up the call and placed it on speaker, as Ria spoke. Issei, what is the meaning of this? Issei puts her on mute and speaks. Does she know about this? Technically most devils actually have a way to sense the evil pieces, and she must have sensed her connection with the evil piece going away. Several evil pieces, if not all, especially for certain priority devils, have this feature to prevent stray devils and to track and eliminate them before they could harm anyone else. Only way to prevent this is to kill the master. Claire explained, turning to Kuroka, who spoke. Claire's right, Naya. When I killed my former master, they couldn't locate me for a very long time. I see. Issei disconnected the call as he spoke in surprise. I don't understand, Rias, what happened? You managed to remove your pieces and even made Akeno remove hers. Issei looked at Akeno, who had a cold look on her face as he spoke. I don't know what you are talking about, Rias, maybe they are malfunctioning. They aren't, you removed it, what I want to know is why. Issei looked at the others as Azazel muttered to him. Pretend. But you don't know anything. I don't know what you are talking about, maybe talking with that orphan is messing with your head, Rias Gremory. Issei spoke mockingly to get her angry as he turned to Jinshiro and muttered. No offense. None taken, that man even tried his luck with the Citri girls. And I know that you are only doing it to piss her off. Saji muttered back, to which Rias spoke. How dare you speak about him like that? You know how affected he is when his parents are mentioned. Upon Rias revealing her true colors of being Naruto's biggest simp, everyone had a scowl or a look of anger or a look of coldness on their faces. Issei then spoke. I don't care what you think, Gremory, I spoke what I know, and if you got nothing to say, I am cutting off the call. Goodbye. Wait. Rias exclaimed, to which Issei spoke. What? My brother wants you to arrive at the meeting today. You have to make it as soon as possible, that is all I have to say if you want to behave like a rude asshole. Before Issei could speak, Rias cuts off the call as Issei scowled and exclaimed. That bitch. Issei really hated her at this point as Mary calmed him down in response and spoke. Ice, calm down. Guess she fails to see what she has done wrong, as expected from her. At least you were able to anger her. So what's the plan now? I am pretty sure that she would want answers on how we were able to get rid of the pieces. Akeno spoke, to which Lefei, who was silent this whole time, finally spoke. We can always reject the meeting, and since you no longer have your pieces, they can't track you in any manner. You won't even be worried about them following you. Yeah, I guess, you are right. Issei spoke in response, as Claire spoke after a deep breath. I think you should go, but tell them the truth and resign from her peerage. The group was surprised by this, as Mary retorted. Claire, that is risky. We don't know what Rias has spoken to her brother and what she has said to him and the others. However, soon a magic circle opens up, revealing Yasaka, who spoke with relief and happiness. Issei, oh thank Amaterasu you never went to the meeting. Yasaka, what happened? Azazel asked, in response to which Yasaka spoke with a worried tone. It's bad, Azazel. It's really bad, when I was called to the meeting, things got really bad. What happened? Issei asked with worry, to which Yasaka spoke in response. It is all because of that Naruto, somehow he managed to convince everyone to get rid of you and be made the new faction's pillar. This was one of the news that they plan on giving you. I was in the minority, alongside Lord Shiva and Lord Ajuka, but all of them wanted to get rid of you. But to add it all, they also want you to hand over the boosted gear to Naruto, believing that a pervert like you doesn't deserve any success. Yasaka spoke with fear. Although she did not confess to him, she started to develop feelings for Issei. And now, she was afraid of losing him due to what they have planned. There was silence in the group, knowing what is about to come. Yusaka was worried for Issei's state, she looked at him to only see him shaking with fear and worry. Mary embraced him, as Yusaka spoke with sadness seeing his state. Issei, I am so sorry. I couldn't do anything. Mary then spoke in his stead. It's alright Yusaka-sama, I am glad you are siding with us. So any idea on their plan? Yusaka nodded and spoke. They plan on convincing Drake that Naruto is a better host, so that once he is turned against Issei, they will use it to extract it from Issei and use it for Naruto, but he is not the only one, the Vitra host is also to be taken into custody as well later on, and his gear is to be extracted. Jinshiro was horrified by this revelation as many were aghast by this, as Vali asked with anger. Am I to be next in this? For now, there is nothing against you since you have Lucifer blood, but it can come. None of the dragons agreed to this, especially Albion and Drake. Drake then responded to this. Don't expect me to be a part of that fox's body. Issei is my friend and no way I am abandoning him. Drake responded growing to care for his partner's state, it was already bad enough that they betrayed him by cheating, and to top it all off, now they want to hand his gear to him. Vritra remained silent but agreed to Drake's words, those devils have betrayed his host as well. Yusaka then spoke in response. So what will you do now, Issei? Issei looked at the others expecting an answer, as he soon responded, he was not going to let those traitors harm his friends, he was beyond furious at their betrayal. I will go. The whole room was in an uproar, with Mary speaking. Issei, no way, am I going to let you suffer? Yeah, I agree with Mary on this one, kid. They will do anything to gain your gear. The others agreed to this, as Issei spoke. Guys, I have a plan, but I am going to need some help. I know it is a risk, but if we can pull this off, not only can I survive this alive, but also if this works out, the faction leaders can't do anything about it. I will make sure they never even bother me or any of us ever again. I won't just say this without having a plan in my mind, now listen. I want Azazel-sensei to give me a teleportation spell, in case things get violent, I will escape from the location. Azazel gave a nod, as he knew that there is a spell that he created which would instantly transport anyone to any location, as he continued. My next step of the plan is to reveal the memories of the Terhixa fight if they don't comply with my demands. From what I remember the faction leaders especially the Gremory family has taken credit for mine and Vali's work, so we will take back what's ours. Vali was annoyed by this, how did they take credit for his work? He needed to make an example of Riaz for doing this, he kept this in his things to do list. His team calmed him down, as Issei continued. Our next stage of the plan will be to get our allies out, this includes your sibling Saji, you need to get them to a safer protected place. I have a feeling that the factions will do anything to gain Vritra. Jinshiro nodded in agreement, as Issei continued. Then, we need to find a location where some of us that the factions are targeting can remain safe. Once we get enough strength, we strike back, we can't let them get the better of us. What are your demands going to be? Azazel asked curiously, to which Issei spoke. Any money that I gained from raiding games, any prizes that were given to Riaz for my hard work will be taken back. And lastly, I plan on shutting down the Op-I Dragon show and take the millions of money that I earned for my hard work in that show. I am the face of it, so it would make sense that I must have earned most of the money. Riaz barely did the work aside from being the Switch Princess and pretending to be the damsel in distress. Drake was crying in happiness, while those that loved the show like LaFay and Mary were saddened that it was going to shut down. I see. So you really want to cut off the factions from you, entirely, huh? Azazel then continued in response. I was honestly expecting you to ruin them to the ground. They will do that themselves, cause they are on their own. Since they see me as a threat and chose that fury over me I won't help them any longer. I will become the dragon of domination like I was always destined to be. Although, I am going to make sure that Riaz Gremory burns in hell for what she has done, but I will wait for a good reason to do so. Issei spoke with total seriousness, as none had empathy for the red-haired cheater. Mary then spoke. I think the three of you should remove your evil pieces as well. We can't let them track us like Claire stated. Jinshiro, Kuroka and Roswas nodded in agreement, deciding to act on this. Issei then spoke. Azazel-sensei, let's act now. Mary, I want you to come with me, your attacks can harm Surziches, not kill him. In case he gets violent, we can remind him that just cause he is a super devil doesn't mean he is invincible. Mary looked at him and had a sadistic smirk on her face, as she spoke of course, I wouldn't mind. Scene change. Gremory meeting room, Underworld, 8:30 p.m. Issei looked at the meeting door, as Mary stayed beside him. She then spoke. This is it, end the relationship you have with those frauds. You have the circle with you, right? Yes. You have yours also, right? Mary gave a smile, and nodded. The two then opened the door and pretended that they were unaware of the meeting. Issei noticed that almost all the leaders were here, with Riaz and the cheaters here, with the Gremory girl having a smirk on her face. Issei internally scowled, wanting to beat the living daylights out of her one day. Little does Issei know, that day will come soon, especially when he finds out on what happened to his parents. The duo looked at Naruto, who was looking at them coldly. He was described to have yellow blonde, spiky hair and blue eyes. He has 3 character whisker markings on his face, akin to a fox. His hair was short and he had seemed to be wearing a headband. Issei Hyoudou, you have been called for something important. Surziches declared as Issei spoke what happened. Surziches then spoke with a cold and serious tone. First and foremost, your service in sealing Trihexa is well provided, but your service is no longer needed. In other words, you no longer are the pillar, Issei Hyoudou. Issei took a deep breath and spoke. May I know why? It is because of your perversion. Naruto told me on how perverted you really are. We don't want someone like you as our pillar and our representative. You have shamed us with your actions, and we have no reason to keep you as our pillar. Naruto will take your place, and he will also gain the sacred gear, boosted gear. He is a better host than you, Surziches spoke, as Issei internally rolled his eyes upon seeing his so-called adoptive brother. He looked at Mary, who was annoyed, but Issei stopped her. He has got this. So hand me the gear, I deserve it more than you. You disgraced Drake completely with that stupid op-eye dragon. Naruto spoke with anger as Issei scoffed in response. He would never hand Drake to him ever in his life. Boy, you crossed the line with your perversion, and that is why you are being replaced. Auden spoke, as Zeus continued. Even I am not like that, you are the worst of the worst. The insults kept continuing, as Issei decided to wait for a while unaffected by this. He looked at Mary, who was controlling her anger, as he knew he would have to stop it. Are you all done with your insults? Everyone minus Mary was shocked as he continued. I knew everything from the very start that you all wanted to replace me and take Drake away from me. Everyone was silenced by this, as Issei spoke. Now let's get on to the faction hypocrites that are present. First we have the cheater squad of girls comprising of Rias Waremori, Kaneko Kunju, Elmenhold Kakenstein, Zenobia Warevia and finally Asia Witchgento. Issei spoke mockingly as the 5 present were shocked, while the girls were seething in rage. Some like Asia were even crying upon what Issei said, to which he spoke coldly. I have no feelings for you anymore, you all have been sucking Naruto's cock, instead of rather coming to me and confronting with the perversion. And now I am glad that I didn't do the deed with any of you, hell I never even tried anything with any of you, well this orphan over here decided to do it. Many were appalled by this, some even seething in rage, as Naruto wanted to say something, but Issei cuts him off and speaks. I am not done yet, furry, shut it. Why you? Naruto exclaimed, as Issei spoke in response. Oh shut up, UZUMAKI. Speak when I am done. He soon turned to the leaders and spoke. I am not done yet. I can see Grafia is missing, so I am pretty sure she must be against this, same goes for Lord Ajuka and Lord Shiva. Let's get started with the 2 Siskins of the room, Surziches and Seraphol. Are you that desperate for attention that you wish to do it with your little sisters? Seriously, how desperate and pathetic. The 2 were seething in rage and looked at Issei with a look of murder, as he continued. Then we have the all-fucker Auden himself. You call me a pervert, yet you look under the skirt of underage girls. It's a good thing Akeno was above 18, else you would be a creep and a pedophile. At least I am someone that has respect for age gaps, and don't go after underage women, you shameless EDP 445 wannabe. Auden was gripping his cane angrily and was seething in fury upon being compared with the disgraceful YouTuber. He wanted to teach him a lesson, but before he could do anything, he then spoke. And then we have Zeus himself. My god, you can't keep your marriage with Hera. I mean look at her, she is a beautiful woman, and yet you have to go after mortal women. And unlike Surziches, you actually would have even done it with your sister. You are nothing but a hypocritical cheater god. Zeus's hands were crackling with electricity due to his anger, as Hera remained silent, she couldn't deny what Issei said. Issei then spoke to the angels. Now the doves and crows of the group Aka, the angels and fallen angels, I won't say much to you, since it is a waste of time dealing with you hypocrites. It is surprising that you doves haven't fallen yet due to committing betrayal, one of the most powerful sins. And to you fallen angels, you all are no better than the rogues that have joined the Cows Brigade. Azazel Sensei made a mistake giving you the leadership Shemazai, same I could say for God doing that to you Michael. Issei spoke with a mocking tone, as the ones mentioned were furious on this. Issei noticed some like Gabriel and Barakiel weren't there. He then continued. In that case, if you got nothing else to say. I was going to say this since Riaz and her bunch of whores decided to cheat on me with this man, instead of confronting me. I quit being the pillar of factions, make Naruto the pillar, like you always wanted. Issei spoke, as he looked at Mary and responded. Let's go Mary Nee, we are done here. Issei and Mary were about to leave, when a power of destruction was aimed at them. Mary easily deflected it without much problems. He looked at the attacker who was Surziches, he was furious by this, as he spoke angrily. You will not leave here like this. How dare you disrespect me? Rias then added in response with an angry look. You will apologize, now beg for mercy. Naruto soon finally spoke. Hand over the boosted gear. Drake would want a partner like me, over you. Before Issei could speak, Drake spoke. I ain't coming to you, you two-faced fox. Your parents Kushina and Minato would be ashamed of you and would be rolling in their graves. Well said, Drake, I pity those two people cause of their son. Whom they sacrificed their lives for this moron. Mary spoke mockingly as Naruto was seething in rage. He wanted to teach them a lesson as Surziches shouted. Enough. You will hand over Drake or we will pry it over from your dead corpse. Issei stepped forward and spoke. You ain't getting shit from me, Serkant. You cannot beat all of us, you would die trying, brat. Zeus got up as all the leaders and their allies decided to fight. Mary was ready to fight as Issei soon spoke. Ah, don't even think about it. I have memories of everything that happened in the Trahixa battle. I will reveal everything that has happened and I will publicly broadcast mine and Vali's memories that he had given to me and show that it was us that saved the world, not you guys who took credit for our actions. Let's see if your people believe their leaders. The leaders soon became silent, with everyone being afraid of this. Many were seething in anger upon Issei threatening to reveal the memories. He then continued, oh, I can see a few things happening. First is that you may be demanded to be removed from your positions, then your reputation plummets, especially the family of whores from the Gremory family. I pity Grafia and Milikas, who I am sure would be against it since she is not here with you. I let you take credit because I once cared for you, but not anymore. Try any funny business and I will release those memories for the public to see. I wonder what is going to happen. The leaders were even more afraid. For the first time in their life they felt fear. Issei then spoke with a smile. So leaders, what is it going to be? Issei looked at Rias, who was afraid of what is to come. It was not his turn to relish in enjoyment as Michael spoke. What do you want? A few things and I will keep my mouth shut. Any money or reward that I have gained from killing stray devils, and I want the complete amount. 2. I want any rewards that I gained for my hard work, specifically when I fought for this red-haired whore in her matches. Rias was glaring at him with hatred but was afraid that she would lose everything if Issei reveals the truth to them. Issei then continued with a smirk. And lastly, I want my share of the Op-Eye Dragon's profits from both the show and merchandise, and I demand for its complete cancellation. Since I am the face of the show, I want everything that belongs to me returned, no exceptions. Surziches slammed the table in response and shouted angrily. Just who the hell do you think you are? Demanding things from us that belongs to us. Issei cuts him off and speaks calmly. I am someone that can destroy your reputation in just mere seconds. I can ruin your life completely if I want to, and let me tell you, I know a lot about you. Your weaknesses, your capabilities, anything. Since you all see me as a pariah or a villain, I might as well show you what a villain like me can do. Issei spoke calmly as Surziches was seething in rage. He then looked at Mary, who was smiling gleefully. He hated that smile, to which Naruto spoke in response. So you showed your true colors, you are nothing but a damn pervert. Issei could only laugh in response. Absolutely furry, I am a villain and I will fulfill what a villain like me is supposed to do. Naruto was clenching his fists in anger as Issei spoke. So what's it going to be, Surziches? My demands aren't unreasonable, I am only reclaiming what's mine and you want to get rid of me, right? I will give you what you want. Surziches was seething in anger but soon relented as he spoke. Fine. Surziches contacted 2 soldiers as in a few minutes, one came with a bag that contains ton of gifts and a debit card. He then explained. The bag contains all the gifts that you have received by the devils and other beings, and the debit card contains all the money that you have earned from the Op-Eye Dragon show. It has $100 trillion. Issei took the stuff and had a smirk as he looked at Surziches and spoke. And yes, I will cancel the show and destroy the merchandise since you want its complete shutting down. Issei grinned and spoke. Excellent, plus I doubt the children would want UZUMAKI as my replacement in the male lead. Now, I will take my leave. Issei and Mary headed to the door, however Issei suddenly stopped, with Surziches speaking. What do you want now? You already got what you wanted, right? I did. But remember, don't expect me to help you ever again. Have your current pillar help you in every problem you have. Let's see if UZUMAKI can fix the problems I dealt with, like he handled the elemental nations. Issei and Mary walked away as he activated the teleportation cards, leaving the place for good. Surziches and the other leaders were seething in rage. They got what they wanted, and yet, they were so angry at the disrespect that Issei threw at them. They couldn't even get the boosted gear from Issei, and now, they felt defeated. Rias, while angry, was slightly happy. She was able to turn his parents against him. She was certainly going to enjoy his state when he finds out on this. However, little does she know, she has committed her biggest mistake, something that will make her regret her very existence. And the factions, they will realize the gravity of their actions. A few weeks later. Underworld, 9:30 am. Several things happened in the aftermath of Issei's departure of being the faction's pillar. While Naruto was seemingly accepted to be their new pillar, Issei's departure was greatly missed by the Devil Children, who were even more saddened and despair-ridden by the loss of their hero, the Oppai Dragon, and its cancellation. Many wanted him to come back, but he went off the grid after taking everything that was owed by him. While the children were devastated, it was a whole another mess for those that supported or were against the decision of replacing Issei with Naruto, had a whole thing coming for them. Certain devils such as Sayard Bale and his peerage that actually respected and saw him as a genuine warrior, as well as Sakura Agers who saw Issei as a fellow Gundam enthusiast, were upset and downright furious at his removal. They knew Naruto was decent, but him being a replacement for Issei was not something they sat by and accepted completely. They started to become distant from the Devil Council and other devil politics, refusing to assist them unless Issei comes back, much to the leaders and council's chagrin. Then we had some more people like Grafia Lucifuge, Milikas and the entirety of the Phoenix family who were also against this. Ravel and Claire informed them, and needless to say, even they opposed the decision as well, cutting and refusing to transfer Phoenix Tears to them if they needed. Things weren't going all too well with the devils. Even several of the reincarnated devils that Issei acted as an inspiration to weren't happy with how he was treated and protested against this decision. Now getting to the angels, a divide happened, one led by Gabriel, who opposed the decision and was not present in the meeting, hated what Michael and her fellow brothers and sisters did to Issei. She wanted no part in betraying someone that worked so hard for them. Although she was curious on Naruto's origin, she didn't like the way Michael portrayed him as a better replacement for Issei, unaware that heaven would have been in a much worse state than what it was due to RageRevan's attack on it. As a result, those that sided with Issei were being split up from those that supported the decision of his replacement. To top it all off, Gabriel helped Irina remove her Brave Saint card from her body, with the help of Azazel and Ajuka, who supported Issei, and the trio managed to create an alternate device for removing the Brave Saint cards from reincarnated angels as well. Ajuka was planning on revealing the device before Issei's betrayal, but after that, he kept it a secret, even thinking of giving it to Issei, so that he can keep it safe from the hands of the factions. Speaking of the fallen angels, neither Barakiel was happy with what had happened to Issei, nor he approved of Naruto flirting with his girl. He was glad that Akeno sided with Issei and even removed her pieces, and he, alongside Penemu and Azazel, took those that were against Issei's replacement, which involved surprisingly only a handful of fallen angels and Team Dog, since many supported Issei's replacement being Naruto. Then we get to the Norse and Greek factions. While many gods approved of Issei's replacement being Naruto, there were two particular people that were against this, that being Artemis and Athena, while Hephaestus was neutral to this, not desiring to take any sides, and wanting to live his own life in peace. He wanted to be away from politics, however he did state that he would help the duo goddesses if needed, much to their happiness. Now we get to the ones that sided with Issei. Yusaka immediately cut off all contact with the factions, not desiring to have any contact with those traitors, and she wanted to be as far as Naruto as possible, given that she didn't want him trying to flirt with him. Her heart fluttered for Issei, but was not sure on how and when to confess to him. She was afraid that he may reject her for not seeing her as a woman and more of an old lady. She also informed the Shinto pantheon, and they weren't happy either. They wanted to make them pay by first removing them from Kuo territory, but were worried of triggering a war that may end up having human casualties. They decided to never become a part of the factions, even assisting Yusaka in her defense against the faction leaders if they do show up. Primarily those that supported Issei weren't allowed in Yokai-based territories of both East and West Yokai pantheons. Then the Hindu faction also cut off all ties with the factions, with Shiva suggesting to form their own alliance with those that supported Issei in secret. He knew that Naruto would soon cause problems. And in the end, that is what happened. He was worried that Indra may see Naruto as someone suitable for replacing Issei, but saw that he was unaffected by who is the pillar, for the time being that is. Additionally, some of the dragons went missing as well, much to their shock and surprise, making the faction leaders and those that approved his replacement hate Issei even more. The Dragon God's office in Great Red prevented those that replaced Issei to enter in the dimension gap, making them even more hateful towards Issei. All in all, it was really chaotic mess in the factions. New Jersey, USA, 7:30 p.m. A man was heading towards his home. This was none other than Issei Hyoudou. His appearance had changed. He still had his brunette hair, except it was much shorter than before. Instead of his brown eyes, it was deep red eyes. He wore his dressed in a dark militaristic outfit featuring a black coat with gold embroidery and chains, accentuated by a deep red chest piece and black gauntlets with red and gold details. The attire exudes authority and power, complemented by a belt with intricate designs. Issei gave a sigh. Weeks have passed by, but there is not even a single location of his parents. They had vanished off the grid. Even when sending some of his friends to Kuo, there was nothing. Little does Issei know, Riaz is actively hiding them from him. So that he doesn't know what she really did. She hates Issei even more now and vowed to never give him his parents. He headed to his model home, which he purchased with the money he had received from the Op-I Dragon program and his actions. It barely caused a dent in his salary that he had due to how much money he had rightfully earned and on how these greedy devils kept it away from him, much to his anger. The gifts he had also rightfully received helped a lot in setting up his new home, which included latest model televisions and other things. He rang the bell to his house and soon the door was opened. He was greeted by his now first girlfriend Akeno Himejima. They have been officially dating and one day Issei proposed to her. They were now only a step closer for marriage, all they needed was Barakiel's approval, which was soon going to be received. She was wearing pajamas, settling down as his sort of wife along with slippers. She still looked the same, except more mature. Anada. Akeno headed forward and kissed Issei on the cheek as she spoke. What took you so long? I had to set up some things for my business, sorry for leaving so early and coming back so late. I must have kept you lonely, right? Akeno shook her head and spoke with a smile. No, I understand, you must be working very hard. Ever since you met that being known as Entity X. He gave you the power to create his own faction. Still amazed on how and beyond Outerversal, Boundless, being took an interest in you. He could easily destroy all of us if we wanted to, even Office and Great Red wouldn't stand a chance. Issei gave a nod, remembering meeting that entity that fateful night. It happened a few days ago, and they contacted Issei to make a world, a faction that will surpass everyone else. He even agreed to let Issei find a way to other worlds, Naruto's world being one of them. But for now, he wanted to focus on building the basics of the world. Come inside, I have made something special for you, Anada. Akeno spoke with a smile as Issei headed inside, looking at the model home he had purchased. He felt pity and sadness for the children that he had to abandon due to the leaders. Irino also had to visit her parents from time to time, since they also supported Issei, and the others had their own work in the newly set up faction that Issei had, otherwise they would all live in the model house. But soon, they will live here as well. I can't wait. Akeno gave a smile as the couple headed inside. She soon brought him to a table that had several foods comprising of several Japanese dishes made of chicken. They were miso chicken, chicken meatballs with sweet and sour sauce and finally chicken teriyaki. Issei's mouth was watering upon seeing this as Akeno looked at this and gave a chuckle. She then spoke. Well, what are you waiting for? Go on, start eating. Akeno spoke as Issei gave a nod. He soon sat down with Akeno sitting on the opposite side. The two then clasped their hands, seemingly thanking the food while speaking. I did Akamasu. The couple soon started to eat on their food. The flavors soon entered Issei's mouth, nourishing and melting his taste buds with an amazing sense of taste. Akeno soon asked. How is it? It is amazing, Akeno, I like the taste on how you cooked it. How do you do this? Akeno looked a little bit away as she spoke with a slight blush. I am glad you liked it. Akeno spoke with a deep breath as she continued. Mother made this when I was young, it is a good thing I remember the taste too well. I still kind of miss her, Ice. Issei looked at her solemnly, he remembered her mother's death as one of the most haunting memories. He remembered her almost wanting to do the deed just to make her forget that, but Issei didn't push for it, he didn't want to do it with her. Instead, he found a way of reuniting her with her father, something she was always grateful for. He held her hand and started to rub her palm with his fingers. Akeno looked at him and gave a smile in assurance. She was happy that she found a supporting lover like Issei and was jealous on how Riaz used to control their relationship and his former harem like an iron fist. Often hogging her time with Issei whenever she could, while Akeno wasn't going to be like this. She was going to be fair to her future harem sisters. Akeno, wherever she is. I am pretty sure she is watching you with a look of happiness in her eyes. I don't know much about her, but if she is anything like you, she would be happy and will be resting in peace seeing her daughter living a life of happiness. Akeno looked at him and spoke with tears pooling in her eyes. She held his hand, knowing on how much he cared for her. Since it was not for her, he would have been suffering or worse, long dead. She cherished and loved Issei more than anything else. She internally mocked Riaz for abandoning Issei for Naruto, her sadistic side showing aware that Riaz will never get Issei, she will make sure of it. She doesn't deserve him after cheating on him, and Akeno despises Riaz for almost killing Issei and betraying his trust completely. She showed her true colors to her that day and would never trust or even have faith in her. Forgiveness is a far cry at this point. She wiped her tears and spoke. Now, I think you should eat. It would get cold and having a cold teriyaki is not something you want, trust me. Issei nodded and started to munch on the food as Akeno started to have hers as well. They both were enjoying their food and decided to talk on their newly built faction. So from what I heard, the others are performing their work, right? Issei gave a nod and spoke. Yes, they are working on the army of the faction. The army is expanding and being set up even more. We already have 200,000 soldiers at the current time, along with several vehicles and other weaponry that can even harm supernatural beings. Getting access to holy weaponry was easy, but it was surprising on how angels also have a weakness towards a certain unique demonic magic known as dark light. Dark light. Is that the one that you and Volley were talking about 2 days ago? Issei gave a nod and spoke. Correct, even he was unaware of it. It turns out, dark light belonged to Lucifer Morningstar, the first. He kept this hidden from everyone, even his own descendants, and we only got to know when I personally found out from Entity X. I tried asking Azazel Sensei to find out whether Volley has this, but so far, there is no success. Maybe in the future, Volley may genetically possess it. And from what you told me, this ability can harm and kill angels and fallen angels. It is lethal to them, similar to how holy magic is lethal to devils. Issei gave a nod and spoke. Yes, I don't know why Lucifer hid this, but there could be 2 reasons. One, it is arrogance, or it could be fear on others using it for their evil purposes. After all, God did die during the battle in the Great War. Issei gave a nod and spoke. Correct again, Akeno, and now we have access to it. Although, Volley himself would gain it in the future. Akeno nodded as they continued to eat for the time being. They all knew that they can rest for a while. That is. Scene change. Kuo Academy, Kuo, 10:30 am. Naruto was in the academy as many started to cheering and squealing to his arrival. It was almost as if he had become a popular man completely. Oh, Naruto-sama. You are so good looking. He looks so beloved and amazing. Almost like a god. And his relationship with Rias is even better. Yeah, she did a good job abandoning that lowly pervert over a blonde hero like him. Naruto smirked upon hearing the comments. He liked that Issei was gone from his life, even if he didn't get the boosted gear. He got his parents who started to love him like his own kid instead of Issei and Mary. He wanted to try his luck with Mary, but she always remained away from him. Oh, it feels so good being loved in this world and being hated in Konoha. I hate those bastards for ruining my life just cause I held Kurama inside of me. I hope they suffer in the 4th Ninja War for their actions. Naruto thought with anger, with Kurama only remaining in silent. He felt slight guilt that he was indirectly the reason why Naruto became so psychopathic and ruthless in his nature. He took away an innocent man's life and became its replacement. However, Kurama was annoyed at how they quickly and easily replaced Issei with his Jinchuriki. He wondered what would happen now. Naruto headed to the Japanese Culture Research Society. He was called there by Rias Gremory herself, and she managed to make sure that Naruto got all the attendance that he would miss. Rias then spoke on Naruto-kun, I am glad that you managed to finally arrive here. So how was your day today with your new mom and dad? Naruto gave a chuckle as he spoke in response. Well, they seem fine, although I am surprised they would forget about their own 2 children. Rias flinched upon this. She hasn't revealed that she was the one that altered Goro and Mickey's memory. To give Naruto parents, believing that Issei and Mary didn't deserve them, she feared that Naruto wouldn't accept this when she is found out. So she came up with a believable lie. Oh, it is because they saw you as a better child compared to both of them. They were nothing but perverts. That is why they chose you. Why, yeah, they told me myself. Rias spoke with a lie, earning a nod from the blonde as Naruto spoke with a normal tone, believing Rias like it was not a problem. I guess that is true. Naruto spoke. With a shrug as he continued. If he wasn't perverted, none of this would have happened. So true, you are far better than him. You are a better boyfriend than he ever will be. I wonder what would have happened had I never met you. I would have been stuck with that good-for-nothing perverted boy Issei Hyoudou. Naruto gave a chuckle as he spoke. I couldn't agree anymore. But shall we continue, my Rias Gremory? Rias had a blush on her face and responded. Yes. Naruto-sama. The duo started to perform their deed in the class, with Naruto outright groping and undressing Rias, who like a slut accepted the advances, even undressing for him, as they even committed sex, while making sure no one heard them, else they will spread even more rumors. Scene change. New Jersey, USA, 9:30 p.m. Issei was lying on his bed. He was worried for his parents, as they had just disappeared completely. He feared on what is happening to them and where they are. He hoped that they are alright, wherever they are. He remembered that his parents won't betray him, especially after the fact that they accepted his draconic side and revealed that they had suffered 1 miscarriage before Mary's birth, implying that there were 2 children that tragically passed away. Akeno came from the bathroom wearing her bathrobe. She had her hair down instead of being in a ponytail. Issei got up and then looked at her and saw that this brought back some memories. He remembered her sucking out the draconic spirit back when he had rescued Rias from being engaged to Riser Phoenix. This did bring back another moment where Issei had said that he doesn't mind her being a half-blood. Ara. Brings memories back, doesn't it, Issei? Akeno walked forward, her breasts being jiggling upside down. She then spoke with a sultry tone. Want me to suck the dragon like last time? Issei gulped upon this and had a blush. He turned his gaze away, making Akeno giggle seeing his blushing face. She then wrapped her arms and pushed him on the bed, with Akeno being on top of him. Issei gently stroked his girlfriend's hair and spoke. I never thought I'd say this, but a part of me always liked you even more than Ria's. Even when I was dating her. May I know why is that? I mean you were devoted to her a lot. Issei turned his gaze away as he spoke in response. Because at first I was enamored by your beauty, and I am not going to lie. You helped me a lot in my early days as a devil. But it wasn't until later I fell for you. Although, my affection and Ria's, well you could say it got in my way. She did a lot for me, and I was devoted to her, regardless of being a pervert. Did you see me assault anyone like many claimed me to do so? Akeno shook her head. She understood the impact the betrayal Ria's caused to the two of them, but Issei was struck the hardest. He did everything for her, even sacrificing his arm and later his life for her sake. Even when he died and returned as a pseudo-dragon god, he still became her pawn. Willingly. Those were some of the few things he did for her, and that was the extent he loved and cared for her. But then she betrayed him, cheated him with Naruto, and then, the factions decided to discard him, seeing it was fit for his removal. No, you didn't. The fact that they failed to see that and only claim you to be a pervert is really frustrating. I don't think any of them saw on how Naruto was pushing for actual sex with us, and with Ria's being a simp for him. Well, it's their loss. Let's wait on how Naruto handles being the pillar. Issei agreed to it, as she soon spoke in response. Plus, I feel like you were more loyal to her because she revived you after you got killed by Rainer. Ugh, why did you remind me about her? Issei responded with a sigh as he continued. But you are right, I did owe her my life for her saving me. And besides, if I didn't get killed by Rainer, I doubt I would have met someone like you. If anything I should be thanking that bitch, cause it allowed me to meet an angel like you. Akeno had a blush on her face, as she responded with a smirk. Ara. When you say things like this, you make me even more aroused. Akeno lunged on Issei as they started to make out, which soon turned to full-blown sex as Issei removed her bathrobe, revealing her naked body in the light. She also undressed him and started to make out. Moans of pleasure and ecstasy can be heard. The duo certainly had a fun time together. Drake, who was sleeping inside, suddenly woke up due to the moans and internally groaned. These two horned dogs do it almost every single day. It was a good thing that Azazel designed special headphones for Drake so that he couldn't hear this. For fuck's sake, these two always have to do it when it is my sleep time. It is a good thing Azazel gave me those headphones, else I would have to hear those moans and cries of pleasure. Drake's expression soon curls into a smile as he responds. But seeing him with another mate, someone that really cares for him more than anyone else. I am glad he has people that can look after him and care for him. Drake also soon rests for the day, unaware that someone from Naruto's world has taken notice of Issei and wants to have a conversation with him. He needs more power from the person's world to combat Naruto, and if possible any threat that comes after this. Scene change. Time skip brought to you by Chibi. Issei wondering on how to create a Rasengan. Issei's mindscape. 4 a.m. Issei looked around surprised that he was in his mindscape. It was a decent meeting room that was found in offices. It had several chairs, a table, proper lighting and even a television, along with 2 huge potted plants. He remembered on how this came to be, and it was all thanks to the being known as Entity X that contacted him. He had asked him to design a faction and make it stronger than anything else that exists in not only this world, but also the entire universe if possible. It was to protect his loved ones and family. Now, why am I here? Issei asked, to which someone soon spoke in response, perhaps I can explain that, Issei Hyoudou. Issei turned to see someone he would never see again. It was someone that Naruto had spoke to Ria's about when he overheard their conversations. He was Hagoromo Otsutsuki. He was a tall and pale-skinned man who had deep wrinkles and a strong jawline in his elderly age. He had spiky, shoulder-length pale brown hair with a chin-length braided lock hanging in front of his left ear. He also sported a goatee, which was short in his younger years and later tapered down to his waist in his old age. Hagoromo had a pair of horn-like protrusions extending from either side of his forehead. He also had a red Rinnegan-like marking in the center of his forehead, referred to as his third eye. Hagoromo wore a white full-length kimono with a pattern of 6 black magatama around a high collar, beneath which he wore a necklace which was also made up of 6 black magatama. On the back of his kimono was a larger black Rinnegan, marking with a pattern of 9 magatama arranged in 3 rows of 3 beneath it. You're Hagoromo Otsutsuki. Hagoromo gave a nod and spoke. Correct boy, I am him. And I am here to speak to you. If you recognize me, that boy Naruto has told me about you. Correct? Issei only gave a nod as he asked. So what brings you here to my mindscape, and where is Drake? Right here, partner. Drake soon came from a dimensional portal into the room as he looked at Hagoromo and spoke. So Kagaya's son is here, as well huh? Hagoromo gave a sigh as he spoke. You needn't have to refer that Welsh dragon drag. And besides, I am here for some things. First thing, I need to explain Naruto's actions and what he did. He needs to know that his actions are going to have consequences for his future, big consequences. Especially for the people in his world. And for what he did, I need to apologize due to him sort of being a reincarnation of my son Ashura. Hagoromo spoke with a bow. He knew that the man in front of him was important due to Issei being the supposed savior of this world. And the factions abandoned him due to Naruto, as Issei spoke. Hagoromo, you needn't apologize for what he did. It is not your fault. Hagoromo shook his head and spoke. No Issei, as a father I need to take responsibility for what he did to you. His hatred was a result of the abuse that the villagers put him through at a very young age. Many hated and feared him for a long time and I guess he must have snapped forgetting all those that actually loved or cared for him. There were people. Naruto informed that all of them hated him. Hagoromo shook his head and spoke. Quite the contrary, he did have people that cared for him. One of them was Hinata Hyuga who never feared him, the other was Iruka, and there were some more. My guess is that he has forgotten all of them and decided to ruin someone else's life. Which he found to be mine. Hagoromo gave a nod to Issei's words as he spoke. Correct, and once again I apologize. No Hagoromo, you needn't apologize for his mistake. He always hated me for an unknown reason despite me taking him in with open arms. But you said that he was Ashura's reincarnation, right? Hagoromo gave a nod and explained to Issei everything about Ashura's origin and Indra's origin. He also told him that he needn't to be confusing him with this world's Indra. He also informed him about Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha. And their current reincarnations, that being Naruto Uzumaki and Sasuke Uchiha. Issei nodded in understanding, with even Drake taking note of this, as he asked. So is Kagaya still sealed? For now, yes she is. But I believe with your power, we can kill her for good if she does become a problem. Anyways, I plan on transferring almost all of my power to you, Issei Hyoudou. Please don't deny this. Issei was surprised by this, as he asked. But why me? I mean, what is your reasons? You have always fought for what is right, you had every reason to succumb to hatred, from that crow rainer killing you for fear of your power. To the factions thinking that you deserve to be a villain courtesy of my son's manipulations. Plus, you will need my power to fight against the future threats that will come to your faction and your family members, and trust me, the universe is filled with beings that can easily destroy the current factions. Do you desire to protect your family and loved ones? Issei gave a nod without hesitation, understanding the situation all that well. He wanted to protect his family and loved ones at all costs. He understood the severity of the situation. He then spoke. I wish to protect my family, Akeno, Marini, Irina, Vali and his team, Azazel Sensei, Claire, Ravel, Mom, Dad, and all of my loved ones. I wish to protect and cherish them. Hagoromo, I accept your proposal. Hagoromo nodded and spoke as silhouettes which comprised of beings that had the sun and moon behind them, soon arrived and clasped their hands as he motioned Issei to touch their palms. He does so and the power is transferred to him. Issei soon felt a surge of power as he spoke amazing. Hagoromo then asked his final question. So Issei, do you plan on taking revenge on those that have ruined your life? Issei only gave a smile to him and spoke. Nah, they will do that themselves, and besides it is not my problem. Although if they harm my family and friends, they are as good as dead. And besides, I don't mind playing the villain, since that is what they see me, I will give them exactly what they see in me. Issei ended with a wink, as Hagoromo only looked at him for a moment and soon smirked, having an idea on what is going to happen. He then spoke. I see, then I wish you good luck, Issei Hyoudou. The mindscape soon fades out as Issei soon returns back to the real world. Scene change. New Jersey, USA, 7:30 a.m. Issei soon opened his eyes as he turned to see Akeno. Sleeping on his chest, cuddling to his naked body. He pulled her in closer as soon she woke up from this and looked at Issei with a blushing smile, her lavender eyes looking at Issei with a loving gaze. Ara. Morning, Hinata. He held her and spoke. So how was your sleep? Akeno was about to respond when she saw Issei's eyes and speaking. Issei, your eyes. Huh? My eyes have been red, there is no change. Akeno shook her head and responded. No. Here. Akeno looked for her phone and clicked on the camera and pressed the selfie button. Issei widened his eyes in shock when he saw his image on the mobile screen. He now saw his eyes was purple and had multiple lines in it. From what memory serves, this is Rinnegan from Naruto's world. So tell me, how did you get this? Akeno asked with curiosity. She had an idea that he had gained this from Hagoromo, but she wanted to hear it from his mouth. Issei spoke in response. Akeno, do you trust me? Is that even a question? Of course I do. Issei then explained everything as Akeno grew wide-eyed as she soon lied on his chest and spoke with happiness. I can't believe that not only did Hagoromo manage to reach here, but he decided to give you his powers. I am so happy for you. Issei smiled and gently placed his hand on her head. She slept on his chest and spoke. Yeah, now I have powers that Naruto could only imagine. I can only ponder on the shock he has on his face when he realizes that I have the Rinnegan, one of the strongest Kekkei Genkai. Akeno chuckled in response as she knew what is going to happen next. Soon she got up, her breasts dangling from her chest as she responded. Well, I think we should be preparing for our date today. You should also get up, Anada. Issei gave a nod as he spoke in response. Well, how should I revert back to my normal eyes? Akeno responded with a normal tone. Think of it as retracting your draconic wings. Issei understood and did what she asked as his eyes returned back to normal. Akeno gave a nod in understanding as she spoke. I will prepare some food for you. Get ready, okay? Akeno spoke with a gentle tone as Issei nodded. Akeno soon wore her bra strap and started to wear her clothing. Issei watched her leave from the room before stretching himself and wearing his clothing too. The duo had a pleasurable night. He remembered that Akeno wanted a boy in the future, although Issei suggested that they finish their college university here before they moved to family planning, which she didn't mind. He also headed to the bathroom to prepare for the day. He wondered what is in store for him. Scene change. New Jersey, USA, 10:30 a.m. Akeno had sat down, bringing in some bacon and eggs, giving one plate for Issei and one to herself. She and Issei clasped their hands and once again spoke. I did Akamasu. They soon started to eat their food. However, soon a doorbell sound was heard. I will check it. Akeno got up and started to head to the door when she opened the door. She was met with two guests. It was Azazel and Mary Hyoudou. Azazel then spoke. Hey, are you guys free? We sure are, come inside. The duo came inside as they were greeted by Issei too as he spoke. Azazel-sensei, Mary ni, it's so good to see you. Mary responded in kind. You too, little brother, so how have you been? Better than ever, with you guys keeping company. It is not an issue, anyways, did you get anything? The duo looked at each other with worried looks as Azazel spoke in response. Before we get into your parents, we have to give something to you. Azazel brought out two files and gave it to them as Issei asked, looking at them, with Akeno taking her file. What is this? Your graduation certificates from Kuo and transcripts. You two can now begin your college life here. I managed to find a way to get them without the Gremory and Citri posing a problem. It is surprising and shocking on how much control they have on the school board itself. But I managed to pull it off. The couple were surprised by this as Issei spoke with a tone of gratitude. Gee, thanks, Azazel-sensei. No problem, kiddo. Oh, sorry, I can't call you that anymore. Azazel spoke with a grin as Mary soon spoke in response. Azazel, we might as well tell him about mine and his parents. It turns out we found them. That's the good news. Issei and Akeno were even more surprised by this as Issei spoke. Wait, for real, we found mom and dad. Correct, but that is where we ran into a problem, Issei. Azazel spoke with a solemn look as Mary could be seen seething in anger when she found out the results of the investigation. She wanted to rip Riaz apart for attempting to do that to her parents. She can only imagine on how her parents are going to react. Go on. Issei spoke with concern as Akeno held him, her instincts telling that something horrible is going to happen. Mary then explained. It was Riaz, she manipulated our parents' minds thinking that Naruto was their only son and we are just nobodies. She made it in such a manner that neither of us will be remembered in their eyes. At first, I feared that they abandoned you because of your perversion, but even I wasn't remembered. And my achievements were not hidden, they praised me for it, but in their eyes, that is all forgotten. The culprit responsible, it was Riaz Gremory. Mary explained to Issei, remembering that her achievements allowed her to gain a scholarship to US, and despite this, the bond between the siblings always remained and never changed. She pushed herself for her family, and so did Issei. But that was all forgotten courtesy of Riaz Gremory. There was nothing but silence, his hair covering him. Akeno rushed quickly and calmed him down by hugging him. She then spoke. Ice, please calm down, we will find a way to save your parents. Azazel had volley on speed dial in case things go bad. He understood Issei's protectiveness towards his family and his rage when someone hurts them. An example of this was RageRevan kidnapping them. He kept being persistent and eventually overpowered and defeated the super devil. I am going to kill that red-haired bitch. Issei shouted in anger as he started to release aura, which made many worry. The curtains were sent flying and wind was being released. His Rinnegan was being shown in both of his eyes. Akeno and the others calmed him down with Mary speaking next. I am angry too, little brother, but please Ice, don't let your anger get the better of you. We will find a way to rescue them and revert them back to normal. Azazel added in response. Correct Issei, don't do something you'd regret. We need to find a way to rescue your parents, so don't waste your anger here. The sentences hit a chord in Issei as he calmed down, his eyes returned to normal, and spoke. Why yeah, sorry I lost control. It's alright, I am angry too. But that isn't going to stop us. We will save our parents, but how did you get Rinnegan? Mary spoke noticing the eyes, as she remembered conversations of the Kekai Genkai back when she was at home. She remembered Ross was talking about them, interested to learn more, but never actually wanting to deal with Naruto due to his flirting, so she had to find about it by talking to others like Rias and the rest of her former peerage or her true friends and family. Yeah, I noticed it too, how did you get one of the strongest Kekai Genkai? Issei and Akeno looked at each other and explained to the duo about everything, as they all were stunned by this revelation. Mary then asked in a stunned tone. This means that Hagoromo came and gave you this power. Yes, and he told me it will be useful against my other enemies. Including the factions if needed. Mary understood this, having Rinnegan was no joke, making Issei one of the strongest beings if he were to be in the elemental nations in general. Azazel then spoke with a grin. That's amazing, I wonder on how you will use this power though. For now, I will use it to save my parents and protect those I love and care for. Azazel gave a nod, as he then continued. But first, we need to plan for that. The other three nodded, as they started to plan on how they can rescue his parents. Issei vowed to make an example of Rias for even thinking about harming his parents. He was going to make sure that she lives in so much fear that she would never cross against Issei. Issei was with several people, these were new soldiers belonging to his faction. Military-based soldiers that joined him out of sheer coincidence. They were comprised of the Bad Batch or nicknamed Military Force 99 of the newly formed faction that Issei created. These were Hunter, Tech, Wrecker, Crosshair and Echo, each having a new and unique ability exclusive to them. They were a human military team that was granted to Issei by Entity X. Hunter has a strong, chiseled face with a distinctive red bandana wrapped around his forehead. He has stubble on his face, giving him a more rugged appearance. Wrecker is large and muscular with a bald head. He has a scar over his left eye, giving him a tough battle-worn look. Echo has a pale, almost grayish complexion. He has cybernetic implants on his head, and body. Crosshair has a gaunt face with hollow cheeks and a generally more intense expression. His hair is shorter, and he has a crosshair tattoo over his right eye. Tech has a slimmer build compared to the others and wears glasses with high-tech enhancements. His face is more intellectual and refined, with lighter skin. So I believe you have all been well briefed about this mission, I presume? The five men nodded, with Hunter speaking for the team. We have all been, sir, your parents being in danger, and you have asked us to assist you in helping you rescue them. Excellent Hunter. Tech, do you have a read on the situation? Tech gave a nod and removed a device that gave tabs on the situation at hand. He had already placed in some spying magic circles controlled by the mobile device he held at hand. He then spoke. Yes, your highness, we have actual live tabs on your parents. For the time being they are being kept in Kuo Town, your former residence. My theory is that whenever you used to arrive, this woman Rias, whom you call red-haired bitch, secretly teleported them to the underworld, leaving the house empty. That is why you didn't seem to find her. Issei growled in anger. He hated that Rias was actively trying to keep him away from his own parents. He was going to remind her on why he could have easily killed her if he wanted to. He was going to remind her well on why RageRevan feared him in their final moments. I see. Crosshair soon suggested to Issei. Your highness, if you may, I can snipe them out, killing them without any mercy. Issei only chuckled in response and spoke. I have a better idea. Set the gun to stun, we have to knock them out. This is an infiltration mission. Crosshair, your priority is to locate Ria's Gremory and fire a stun bullet on her, taking her out of the equation. Can you do it? Consider it done, your highness. Crosshair spoke with a bow, thinking on what Issei has planned for her, as he continued. Hunter, you, I and my sister will head inside once Rias is knocked out of the equation. Our goal is to subdue and bring my parents in. Tech, Echo, your goal will be to shut down any electronic cameras and other magical devices like barriers surrounding the house. And finally Wrecker, your goal will be to create a diversion. Attract as many as you can, but flee if you encounter someone like Naruto or if you are getting overwhelmed. Crosshair, assist her in sniping out anyone that can pose a problem. The Bad Batch nodded as Hunter spoke. You can count on us, sir. Hunter's unique ability is enhanced senses, which allows him to track targets of interest and deal with them accordingly. Yeah, I am going to enjoy wreaking those devils. Wrecker exclaimed cheerfully, remembering his body augmentations allowing him to have super strength, take and tank many hits without a problem, but he had to be careful to not get carried away. This should be a delicate operation, are you with me, Echo? Tech was the most intelligent, almost reaching on par with Ajuka Beelzebub in terms of pure intelligence, if not surpassing him. He had a fascination with technology and information and could sense anything to assist his allies. Echo responded in kind. Yes, I am, Tech. Echo's body has been augmented and changed to manipulate technology and magical devices due to an accident that happened earlier. He was saved by Azazel and now helps the faction, primarily Issei, as well, to assist him in the mission. Leave it to us, those devils aren't going to escape my sights. Crosshair spoke seriously, earning a nod from Issei. Crosshair had an exceptional eye that allowed him to snipe and eliminate targets that can cause complications to his mission. He is very devoted to his faction and often goes by the motive, good soldiers, follow orders. Very well then, let's begin. It's time I show Rias that I am not the same Issei she once knew. And to Surziches and Naruto that I am not someone that is supposed to be taken for granted. The team nodded as they all decided to start their parts against Rias Gremory and her faction. Kuo outskirts, Kuo, 10:30 am. The team had already set their operations at the location in the outskirts of Kuo, such that they wouldn't have any problems detecting them in that place. Issei was joined by Mary and Akeno, both of whom decided to join anyway, the latter being insistent on joining them. She wanted to have a reunion with her so-called friends, especially her so-called bitch of a master Akeno. Alright, the game is set. Crosshair, your goal is to target Rias. You will be teamed up with Hunter to detect where she is. And Hunter, you are aware that devils have a unique body signature, correct? Hunter gave a nod and responded. Yes, I am aware, sir. That means your parents will. They will have the regular heat signature, which will indicate that they are human. I will be joining you to make sure they are safe alongside Mary and Akeno, just like we have planned. Hunter and Mary nodded in agreement as she spoke. We have to knock them out, else they may jeopardize our plans. Yeah, as much as I hate to do it, we have no choice. Issei spoke with a sigh as he continued. Wrecker, you will head out first and attack my former house, eliminate only the devils, and try to get them out in the open. Crosshair, once they are out in the open, use stun bullets to knock them out. Prioritize Rias first, alright. The two gave a nod as Crosshair spoke in response. You can count on it, your highness, none shall escape my sight. Wrecker gave a nod as he spoke. Let's see if those devils survive my strength. Wrecker exclaimed with happiness as they all spoke. Those that are with me, this is a delicate operation, my parents are involved here, so we cannot take any risks. Especially in the line of fire. This is strictly stealth to those that are involved with the group. Ugh. Wrecker exclaimed as he continued. I hate that word. Wrecker, relax, it is only for the three going to rescue the couple. Not for you, you get to tackle and fight, making the distraction of the team. Hunter then added to the words. Tech's right, Wrecker, the sooner we get the couple out, we should be safe. Wrecker looked at them for a moment and nodded as Issei continued. Now getting to the next topic, Tech, Echo, clear the path for us, disrupt and hack any electronic or magical devices you can find. If we can clear our tracks, it would be easier for us to not get caught, else they may track us back to our hidden faction. The duo gave a nod as Tech spoke in response. You can count on us, your highness. Scene change. Hyoudou residence, Kuo, 10:30 am. Rias and her peerage were present in the residence, with Naruto being in the underworld for some work. Being the pillar was something he had to complete. They were there making sure nothing goes wrong in Kuo. Asia was looking after the Hyoudou couple, alerting Rias if anyone shows up, especially Issei. She was happy to have Naruto as a big brother, lover over Issei, and was not going to let him be replaced. Unknown to her, today is going to be the last day of her having Issei's parents as her adoptive parents. Asia-chan, would you help me with the cooking? Miki, Issei's mother asked, to which Asia gave a nod and spoke. Sure mother, I will. Before they could get a move on, a tremor was suddenly heard, causing them to be disturbed as Asia responded quickly in kind. Mother, stay inside your bedroom with father, I will ask Rias and assist her in what happens, stay inside and don't come out until we ask you to do so. Miki retorted in response. But Asia-chan, Miki suddenly started to feel the effects of memory manipulation courtesy of Rias as she spoke. As you wish, my dear daughter. Asia gave a nod as Miki headed to the room. Asia had a gut feeling and hoped it was not Issei. Else, she was done for. Asia was terrified that Issei will come one day and will destroy her life, but she was not going to let that happen. To top it all off, Fafnir disappeared one night, much to her anger and discontent, when in reality Azazel stole it from her, upon Fafnir's request, deeming her no longer fit to wield her. He may be a pervert asking for Asia's panties, but he saw Issei as honorable person. He no longer wanted to be with Asia any longer. She rushed outside to inform Rias to take Issei's parents to the underworld, however unbeknownst to her, she was playing right into Issei's plans. Crosshair, who was looking at Asia running from the scene, loaded his sniper rifle as he spoke with a smirk. All according to a plan. Crosshair pulled the trigger and bam. The bullet was a specialized bullet meant for knocking out a person and not killing them. The bullet went through the glass and stuck Asia's head as a tear fell from her eye. She soon dropped to the ground, out cold. She couldn't inform Riaz and was promptly silenced. Shame, the Emperor doesn't want you dead. But I can't wait to watch you dead. Crosshair understood the reason why Issei doesn't want to kill them yet. He was playing the big game, since Issei knows that Surzich's, being the Siskin he is, would immediately wish to attack Issei for his attack on the peerage, and so will Naruto, along with the leaders. Eventually this would give Issei a proper reason to deal with them once and for all. Death right now would be mercy for them. Right now, his complete priority is to rescue and bring back his parents. Even if they do end up dying, it won't be their problem anymore. At another location, Wrecker was clashing against the Gremory peerage, distracting them as much as possible. He grabbed a nearby car which belonged to Ria's Gremory and threw it at Kiba and Zenobia, forcing them to dodge. Gasper was already on the ground, taken out by several blaster bolts before the fight had truly begun. Yahahaha. You guys are such a good fight, let's see what more you have got. Wrecker exclaimed with joy as the peerage was gritting their teeth in frustration. Zenobia rushed forward and shouted. You are going to regret harming us, soldier. Zenobia rushed forward and dashed to attack him. Wrecker managed to dodge in the last second and tackle her, sending her flying. The others were attacking him at the same time, but Wrecker managed to lift up a nearby truck and started to swing it like a baseball bat, forcing them to back away and dodge the soldiers' attack. Wrecker was cackling like a madman, serving as a distraction. Hunter, Issei, Mary and Akeno were watching from a distance. Akeno then spoke. We go in, now. From the back door. The group nodded, with him giving the signal to take out Ria's Gremory. Crosshair nodded as he aimed his sniper rifle, this time aiming at Ria's head. Crosshair then spoke. Aim. And fire. Bang. Ria's got struck in the head as she fell to the ground suddenly. Her collapse drew the attention of all her standing peerage members, which comprised of Kaneko, Zenobia and Kiba. All of whom were horrified and wondering where attack came from. They all were about to check on her, but Wrecker acted quickly, using the truck to ambush them, sending them flying a few meters. They were unable to land a hit due to Wrecker using vehicles to assist him in the fight. He was only there for a distraction while. The reason why Wrecker and the Bad Batch know about the Gremory family is because Issei gave them information about everything, their strengths and their weaknesses. He knew that because it was him that helped and recovered from their weaknesses and become better. It was him and not Naruto that did that. And they threw him away. Now they will all realize what happens when someone that motivates, pushes and care for them is gone. They still had some level of weaknesses in them, and that increased with Issei's departure due to Naruto not being present and only giving them encouragement if needed. Back with Tech, he was looking through the devices placed in the house as Echo spoke in response. I have connected myself to them, and the couple is hidden in their bedroom, with most of the peerages out. This is your best time to go and collect them. You got the news, sir? Issei responded from the communications. Yes, we did. Shut down all the cameras and any magical devices. We need to secure my parents out of there. After that, I will get them out of here. Once done, replace them with false footage. Tech, you know what you have to do. Right. Yes sir, leave it to me. Tech cuts off the call and gives Echo a nod, who shuts down the cameras and other magical devices as he soon heads there. Tech prepares the false footage, which just showed some things that had been present. It was the same footage that he had to recreate with the correct frame and time, so that they don't get suspicious on what happened. Tech, mind if I ask something? Tech looked at Echo as he responded. Yes, go on Echo. Can you explain the thought process on the leaders betraying His Highness? Echo looked at Tech, who seemed to think for a moment. Since in Tech's eyes, he found the betrayal to not only come out of nowhere, but also in his eyes, it was the most illogical and foolish thing for the factions to do, when there are worse people in the factions, perverts to be precise like Aden and Zeus to name some. Yet, they still had the audacity to criticize him for being a pervert. So not only are they foolish and manipulative, but also they are hypocritical for them to do so. But there was another theory, which while again was foolish, was a possibility. A very very small possibility. Honestly, I find it to be the most foolish and illogical thing to do. My thought is that they always feared and looked down on His Highness, thinking he would one day he would betray him. But the excuse of his perversion to be the reason of removal is also hypocritical in my eyes. My analysis states that this decision was not properly thought through and was taken without considering the consequences in mind. He was a teenager, a 18-year-old, it was natural for humans to be in that phase. The only difference was that he chose to not hide it, but when grown old men do this, that is where problems begin. Yet, they still betrayed and abandoned him when his use was completed, which was sealing Trihexa, and for a foolish and illogical reason. This will only cause their decline to begin, and it will end with them being killed by an enemy who is much more powerful, evil and cruel than anyone. Tech spoke his analysis, as Echo nodded in understanding. He could see the reasonings on why Tech found this to be foolish and blunt. He soon spoke. I see. So do you think that the factions are suffering? Tech thought for a moment before responding. I firmly believe that this is just the beginning, since His Highness would have many supporters allies who already don't like his replacement announcement. All we need to do is wait, time will tell on what will happen next. Echo once again gave a nod as he continued to keep the devices shut off. They waited for the right time to send in the false video feeds. Back with Issei, he passed by Asia's unconscious body and shook his head in disappointment and anger. He gave her a place to stay, and this was how she repaid him, by deceiving and cheating him. He then muttered, I should have never saved you from Rainer and took those spears from her for you. He headed with his team as they watched his parents in the room. He looked at Hunter, and the man gave a nod. Issei then spoke. Sorry mom, dad. I am sorry, but this is going to be quick. Issei blitzed forward and immediately struck their necks, knocking them out. He then grabbed them before they could fall. As soon Hunter and the others came inside, Hunter then spoke. Sir, the house is clear. Should we teleport back? Issei was about to respond when Akeno spoke. We should take Rias with us as well. The trio were surprised by this, as Mary asked. Why, don't tell me you are. Akeno only responded by licking her lips in a suggestive manner, having a blush on her face. Issei remembered the last time she had a look. She was thinking on torturing Rias, her sadistic side showing in display. Akeno, we aren't torturing her today, we need to get mom and dad out, and taking her would be a liability. Akeno only looked to Issei and spoke. Worry not, once I am done with her, we will send her back as a message. Issei remained silent as Mary spoke with a smile. Can I also join? Don't encourage her. Issei exclaimed in annoyance as they all teleported back to their base and prepared to find a way to remove the memory alteration from their heads. Back outside, Wrecker was seen exhausted, he couldn't handle it anymore and was breathing heavily as Kiba exclaimed. Everyone, now. The group attacked them in quick succession, having barely any plan made in mind this whole time and attacking Wrecker at a random time without proper formation and succession. However, soon a massive explosion of holy lightning was aimed at the three, making them scream in pain, causing them to pass out due to this and groaning in pain. The attacker was revealed to be Akeno as she smirked seeing their states. They were nothing but traitors abandoning their own for Naruto, someone who they barely even knew. She looked at her former master with contempt and spoke coldly. I am going to have so much fun with you. Akeno lifted Rias like a sack of potatoes and headed back to base, where she kept her in a secret room which would be used for a torture chamber. Rias harmed her future in-laws, and that was something she was going to regret doing for the rest of her life. Once the mission was done, Tech uploaded the fake video feed onto the cameras, restoring them back to normal. Now nobody should suspect that it was Issei and company that took away his parents. Scene change. Azazel's secret lab, Hull Islands, Caroline Islands, 3:30 p.m. The Bad Batch had left once they were done with their mission and headed back to Issei's faction. Issei thanked the soldiers for helping him rescue the parents. Azazel was analyzing the parents' minds. It took him a few minutes to analyze the situation. Issei then asked with concern. Is the damage too bad and irreversible? Azazel spoke in response. Yari has used a powerful memory alteration spell that would affect their minds, kid. Fortunately, it is not irreversible. Give me a few moments, I should get it done, and it should be reversed. Issei and Mary sighed in relief, as the siblings were happy that their parents would return to them. Azazel soon turned to the group and spoke. So what are you planning on doing with Gremory? Akeno responded to Azazel's question. Not much, sensei, she needs to know that she can't just get away with what she did to Issei's parents. Honestly, why go after them when she only wanted to be with Naruto? Issei and Mary shared similar sentiments. While Issei wasn't a fan of sadism yet, he agreed that Rias can't get away with harming his parents in such a manner. He wanted to make her pay. Azazel knew what might happen and was worried as he spoke. Akeno, your anger is not wrong, hell even I understand that she needs to pay. But it is Surzich's we need to worry about. He is not going to let this slide. I thought that he was an honorable leader, but in reality, he is nothing but a siskin. He would definitely trigger a war if he finds out on what happened to his sister. There was silence upon this, as Akeno spoke with a smirk. I have an idea. What? Azazel asked curiously, to which she continued. Since she used memory magic to alter the parents' memories, we shall also do the same. I plan on making her forget everything that we did to her, making it believe that it was the doing of remnants of Chaos Brigade. That way we can get rid of any suspicion towards us. Not a bad idea, Akeno. Mary responded with a smirk as Azazel looked at the two and shrugged. He then spoke. Very well, I will focus on the memory magic. Akeno, keep an eye on Rias, will ya? Akeno gave a nod as she headed to the room where Rias was kept. In the meantime, Azazel kept working on the memory seal on the parents as it was soon over. Azazel soon took a deep breath and spoke with relief. Alright, it is done. They should wake up soon. Azazel spoken with a smile, as the duo nodded with a hopeful look, as groans could be heard of them finally waking up, looking around, as Mickey looked at Azazel and spoke. Where are we? You are in a safe location, Mrs. Hyoudou. Both of you are. Mickey looked at her husband, as she soon spoke in response. But Azazel-sensei, what happened to the both of us? Few days before someone had caused us to go unconscious. After that, we are here and you are the first person that we see. Why yes, we tried to contact Issei and Mary, but couldn't. Can you tell us what happened? Azazel looked at them, as he only spoke. How about letting your kids tell the truth? Azazel only backed away and turned to Issei and Mary, as he spoke. Have a reunion both of you. You deserve it. Azazel left the room to deal with the situation at hand. The duo walked towards their parents, as Mary spoke in a shaky voice. Mom, Dad. The Hyoudou couple looked at them, and Goro spoke. Mary, is that you? And Issei. Where have you been? Do you know that we are your children? Goro continued in response. What kind of a question is that? Of course the two of you are our children. Yes Issei, despite your perversion, you are our son. Even you Mary, you are our daughter. Mickey spoke in her husband's support as the two started to have tears in their eyes. They immediately dashed forward and hugged their parents, which did catch them off guard. However, despite this, they returned the hug, calming down their crying children. They stayed like this for a moment as the Hyoudou family stayed like this before splitting up. Mickey then asked. What happened both of you? Like what happened after we blacked out? You remember nothing? Mary asked, to which Goro responded. Nothing, we remember nothing. Issei and Mary looked at each other and decided to reveal everything to their parents, not hiding any details, shocking and horrifying the old couple as Goro was clenching his fists in anger while Mickey had tears in her family. She couldn't believe Riaz and her peerage would cheat on her son, especially Asia, who they had seen as their very own daughter. I can't believe they would betray us like this. Goro spoke with anger and sadness as Mickey responded. We trusted them, we gave them, especially Asia, a home. And this is how they repay us, making us parents of someone whom we never knew. Mickey no longer called Asia as Asia-chan. Not only did they cheat on her son, but they also tried to ruin his life. They don't deserve to be called family, especially Ria's Gremory that tried to manipulate their memory to make them Naruto's parents. Issei then asked. That means, you don't see Naruto as your son. He is orphaned, but that doesn't mean we are planning on just bringing someone that we barely even know of into our family, Issei. Goro responded as Mickey spoke. You two are our only children, the rest matters not. I am glad we were broken free from the possession that Riaz put us through. Mickey ended with a smile, earning a smile from the two Hyoudou siblings. They soon decided to discuss on what needs to be done next. Scene change. Riaz was seen unconscious, tied up to a chair with ropes that had holy pages attached to it, which were enchanted and purified with holy magic that Akeno gained from Arena. She had kept it in case the devils decided to knock at their home. Riaz soon opened her eyes as she groaned in pain from the knockout. She remembered Wrecker attacking them and soon she passed out. Ugh, what happened? Riaz tried to move but felt couldn't she touch the ropes, causing her to yell in pain. She understood that this was enchanted with holy magic and could see the pages in it. Guess, someone managed to capture me. Riaz spoke with annoyance as a voice called her out. Got that one right, but you. Riaz was stunned upon hearing the voice. She remembered whose voice it was as she spoke with surprise. That voice, Akeno. She turned around to see Akeno leaning on the wall with a cold look on her face. She then spoke. It seems like you haven't forgotten about me, Buchu. No, Riaz Gremory. So this was your doing? Riaz exclaimed with anger, to which Akeno only walked towards her and with a quick hand. Slap. Slap square in her face, a red mark showing on her face, Riaz having a look of shock as Akeno spoke. Yes, I was one of the few that actually had a hand. You. Riaz growled with anger as she shouted. If my brother knows about this, he will. Slap. Akeno cuts her off by slapping her on the cheek again, cutting her off completely as she grabbed her by the neck, lifting her up as she exclaims with anger. Did you really think we wouldn't find out on what would happen? You red-haired bitch. You are the reason why Mary Ni and my Issei was separated from his parents. Riaz loses her anger and widens her eyes in shock. She soon looks at Akeno in fear, hoping that she wouldn't know about it as Akeno spoke with an angry tone. I do, Riaz, I know what you did. And now. Akeno's expression curled into a smirk and soon a slight blush came into her face. I wonder what screams a devil who is the sister of Lucifer makes when exposed to holy lightning, yufufufufu. Riaz tried to plead, having a smile of complete fear and speaking. Akeno, let's talk about this, and. Aya. Riaz screamed in pain due to the holy lightning as Akeno sadistically watched with glee, seeing her former friend and master suffer. She was going to remember this for the rest of her life. However, all of a sudden, someone called out. Akeno, please spare some for me as well. Akeno turned around to see Mary with a smile on her face as she spoke with a smile. Ara Mary ni, come in, let's have a chat without pray, shall we? Mary also now had a sadistic smirk on her face. She walked inside and soon spoke. I heard what you did with my mom and dad. You have some nerve of harming my parents and trying to make them Naruto's parents. Rias was crying with even more fear being present in her eyes. Mary soon brought out her sacred gears innovate clear and Tilo's karma and spoke. Let me tell you a major difference between me and my brother. My brother wouldn't torture anyone and usually refrains from killing, however. She soon activated them and spoke. I am not like my brother, and believe me, you harm my family, you are going to wish you were dead. No. No. Rias kept speaking with fear as soon screams of her torture were heard across the entire room. She was being relentlessly tortured for the act of secretly making Issei's life miserable. Azazel, who watched this, could only shake his head seeing the torture. He knew Rias brought this on herself, being well aware on how the Hyoudou siblings saw their parents and on how protective they can get when it comes to family. Mary was the more aggressive and sadistic amongst the two siblings, and Rias made a very big mistake of trying to harm this family, a family whose children have the potential to be some of the most powerful beings in the world. However, he was worried on Surzich's. He is a wild card, and there was no telling what he would do next after seeing his sister's state. Azazel knew Rinnegan was powerful, but was aware that Issei had no training in it, and he didn't know how to train him, since the only people that literally knew about it was Naruto, and based on the information he had from him, it wasn't enough. He would need to find more if he needed to help his student. I just hope she learns from this and doesn't do anything stupid, but you'll never know the future, right? Azazel muttered as he walked away in order to plan on what needs to be done next. Surzich's was their biggest problem, and he knew that he would have to plan with the factions that support Issei in order for something to be done. After a while, Issei finally entered as the girls were done torturing Rias. She had lost one of her eye due to Mary stabbing her with a light blade, and her clothes were completely destroyed, revealing her breasts and other privates. Her skin was jarred due to Akeno's lightning, and she had a broken look on her face. It was unknown if she would ever recover, but if she does, she will remain the rest of her life in fear. Girls. Issei walked towards them as they turned to him and Mary spoke. Ah, little brother, so what did mom and dad say? I managed to convince them to stay with us for the time being. Until we find a way to remove the devils from Kuo permanently. Rias felt even more fear upon hearing this. She knew Issei would do anything to eliminate her completely. Akeno then spoke in response. I guess it is for the best that they stay with us, Hinata. Normally Rias would say and sprout some things on how Naruto was a better boyfriend than Issei upon hearing this, but now, she was too afraid of even saying anything. She was afraid that Akeno would torture her for even daring to badmouth or say anything relating to Issei. Issei then turned to her and spoke. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to have some words with Rias. The two girls nodded as Issei grabbed Rias by the chin and spoke. You know Rias, the last person that went after my parents. I made an example of him, RageRevan live in Lucifer, remember? Rias rapidly nodded, afraid of what Issei will do. She didn't want to go through another round of torture courtesy of Issei this time. Issei then spoke. Good, you do remember. Let me tell you, I could kill you. But that would be mercy. I am not the same Issei that would spare his enemies. You try to harm my loved ones. I will make it my life's mission to track you down and eliminate you. Do I make myself clear? Issei spoke with anger as Rias once again rapidly nodded with fear and spoke while crying. I promise, I won't go after your parents. Pee-wee, spare me. Rias was unable to even speak properly due to her crying and fear as Issei scoffed in response seeing this. He then spoke. I will send you to Surzich's, but not before wiping out your memory of what happened here. You will remember the torture, but who did it? That is something you won't remember. Akeno stepped forward and used a magic circle as Rias kept screaming even more in pain. Her memories were wiped clean on the perpetrators of the attack and she was completely broken at this point. Issei soon snapped his fingers and sent her to Surzich's office, masking it as a regular magic circle. Oof, that's done now. Mary exclaimed with a tone of surprise as she spoke. Let's go home, little brother. Yeah, need to let my mom and dad settle down in their new home. Issei spoke with a smile as they left the area. They soon teleported themselves along with their parents back to their home. Scene change. Surzich's office, Underworld, 5:30 p.m. Surzich's was discussing with Naruto. The discontent of the people has been increasing in the devil factions, and soon it would end up turning into a full-blown civil war, a repeat of the one that happened 500 plus years ago. Well Naruto, I am glad you understand the situation. Surzich's spoke with a normal tone as he continued with a frustrated tone. The children, the reincarnated devils and even the pure-blooded devils that support such devils are against us. My wife and some others like Sayard Bale being one of them are turning many more people against us. I need your help to find a way to stop this. Naruto understood the situation. He was aware with many devils calling him to be a pure-blooded supremacist, which was something he was showing that he was not. But in reality, him and the Gremory family excluding Grafia and Milikas were clearly that. His reputation was falling even more, reaching an all-time low at this point. Even the Great King faction, or what remained of it, was being called out, and anyone who got exposed was starting to suffer even more. Serafel being one of them, as when Sona found out on what had happened, she was beyond furious, hating her own sister and those that did it, with Naruto clearly being aware that two of them liked Saji before going for Naruto. Even she didn't want anything to do with her own sister and majority of her peerage, with her only trusting Tsubaki, which devastated Serafel, who cursed Issei for turning her sister against her. She also disappeared with Tsubaki never to be seen again. Sona was never there when Issei was kicked out from the factions and replaced with Naruto. She was busy with schoolwork. When she heard of the replacement and why he was replaced, she was furious that Riaz abandoned him for Naruto and cut ties with her. Since this opposed her dream of opening the Oro's Academy for devils that weren't privileged enough like the 72 pillars or were reincarnated devils to study and learn. Big brother, I think. Naruto was unable to complete when a portal opened revealing Riaz's broken state, as the duo exclaimed with shock and horror. Riaz. What happened, Riaz? Who did this to you? Surziches exclaimed with shock and horror, as Riaz only curled in a ball and responded with fear. They tortured. Me. See chaos. Riaz fell unconscious upon this, as Surziches gritted his teeth in anger, as Naruto spoke in response. Big brother, we should take her to the hospital. We need to make sure she gets healed so that we can come to know who really did this, although from her words, I think. The Cows Brigade, the remnants must have done this to my Riatan. I will make them pay with blood, I swear on Lucifer's name. Surziches declared as he and Naruto rushed her to a nearby medical center so that she could get emergency aid before moving her to the hospital. A few weeks later. Serafel Memorial Hospital, Underworld, 9:30 am. It has been a few weeks since the attack on Riaz's Gremory. Many devils that sided with his replacement were under panic by what had happened. The house that once the former residence of the former pillar of the factions was attacked by an unknown person. Worse, they kidnapped the Hyoudou couple away, which horrified and angered Naruto UZUMAKI that wanted his parents back. Riaz was still placed in a psychiatric facility due to the trauma of the attack. They needed to make sure she recovers properly, but given her state, the underworld doctors had deduced she needed both physical treatment and mental therapy to fix her state. Furthermore, they identified that someone erased her memory of the real torturers, meaning that it was still unknown on who really did it. All they know is that the Cows Brigade did it. This caused even more panic to spread. However, upon Asia's words, and when she was interrogated, she was under the stern belief that Issei was the one that did this. Which many found it to be foolish and confusing, since he was not aware that his parents were at the Hyoudou residence. However, that was enough for Surziches and Naruto to declare him the most wanted in the underworld, and even declared him an O-rank stray devil, higher than a S-rank stray devil. Little did they know, that was the last straw that broke the camel's back. This turned the public opinion against Surziches and Naruto even more, with even more people siding against them, making it worse. Those that did side against him after expelling Issei became more vocal, and protests ran rampant, with many demanding to remove the stray status, with many threatening to withdraw from the army and other jobs belonging to the devil families if they don't comply, with even some more houses like Agares, Citri and Phoenix for example backing the rebels against the decision. Matters only became worse when soon even lesser houses like Belial and even Belphegor were joining them. The former even more due to being helped by Issei a lot. The raiding game champion riled up even more people against the devil government, and Ajuka along with Falbium, who has had enough of both Surziches and Serafel, left the government to join with the rebels, making it a 50-50 split between both the races causing chaos. Things were boiling to a civil war in the devils, with riots starting and becoming violent. Soon borderlining to hatred. All they needed was one push, one final push that would turn them against the current government, and history would once again repeat themselves. It was just the beginning of chaos, and those that supported Naruto were cursing Issei for being the root cause of all their problems. Things were getting from bad to worse for the devils. This was only turning them against the devils even more. Other factions got wind of this, and there was silence, as they were planning to take sides. The end result will be a full-blown war which will devastate millions and destroy many lives. Issei's house, Camden, New Jersey, 7:30 p.m. A few weeks have passed there, and things over Issei's place has become better. His parents had settled down in a new room inside the huge house that Issei possesses. They had managed to secure a job in America and are doing well. Issei's parents always wanted to create a restaurant chain for themselves, and they succeeded. The restaurant chain served Japanese-based food in America, which soon started to become popular. However, Issei was concerned about the devils showing up to their doorstep, but none showed up. His concerns were understood by both Ajuka and Azazel, who developed a device that would alert him and his family if a supernatural being does enter their place of restaurant. Issei did have allies in the factions, like Ajuka for devils, Gabriel for angels, Azazel for fallen angels, Athena for the Greek gods, Roswis for the Norse, and finally Shiva for the rest. They informed him that their actions will result in a faction-wide war, which made Issei worried for his faction being involved along with his family. He vowed to make sure that none of this happened and destroy anyone that would harm his family and friends. Back to present, Miki seemed to be coming down from the stairs of his house. She then asked. Akeno. Akeno, who was cooking for the family, wearing an apron along with her usual clothing, had turned around and asked. Yes, Mom. Have you seen Issei around? He should be back home by now. Akeno thought for a moment. She did look at the watch and was aware that he should be back home. She had an idea where he could be. I will look for him, I knew where he is. Akeno removed the apron and decided to head to their personal room. She pulled out a drawer next to her bed that had a button and pressed it. Soon enough, a portal opened up revealing that it was a portal to a different location. She soon leaped into it and headed to a different location. Once she reached there, she looked around recognizing the place. She sighed in relief, as this place was only known to her, Issei and their friends, primarily Arena, Roswis, Claire, Ravalanche and Shiro. This was the hyperbolic time chamber, an ability worked with the combined efforts of Ajuka, Azazel, Athena and even Hagoromo, who returned assisted them in developing this place. The structure features a regal, minimalist design with a large golden dome crowned by a spire, emphasizing classical elegance. A clock embedded in the dome highlights the significance of time, while slender white columns support an open, pavilion-like entryway. Inside, the furnishings are sparse, with a bed and a small round table, reflecting the chamber's functional nature. Flanking the building are two enormous herglasses encased in glass, their golden bases and caps, mirroring the dome's color scheme. These herglasses, filled with green sand, symbolize time's passage. The platform is wide and tiled, with an elevated, stepped approach leading to the entrance, creating a sense of grandeur. Spherical lampposts with green glass tops add a modern touch. If the factions know of this, they would use this to their utmost advantage. Akeno muttered, thinking that only Ajuka and some others know of this, given he made it. Ajuka also had his own laboratory that he can head to anytime he wanted, due to having a button that access to the location. Even Azazel has at a different location, and this place is used for training by the rest of their friends. The reason why it was used is because time is dilated in this location. One day in the outside world would be 1 year in this location. This allowed the people present to do work which would take months to complete in just a few hours in the outside world, making research and other work like training much quicker than before. However, a major limitation was present, and that was only 2 outside days can be utilized for the time chamber, and a maximum of 15 individuals can be present at the time chamber. If those limits are not followed, especially the former one, then the door disappears and the user is trapped in an endless void. Fortunately, Ajuka designed a failsafe should this accident occur. This was to open a ripple in the space-time of the hyperbolic time chamber to forcefully pull the individual out from the time chamber and let them settle down in the real world. Only Ajuka and Issei have access to this. Akeno turned around to see Issei being trained in the hyperbolic time chamber. He was naked, with only wearing a black shorts. She could see him meditating, releasing some amount of aura shaking the very foundation of the time chamber, albeit only a little. The aura was enough to make Akeno blush slightly, being the sadomasochist she is. She held her lower end trying to control herself from not losing herself to pleasure. However, her thoughts were snapped out when a female voice was heard. Now begin, Issei. Akeno turned around to see a very beautiful woman with long flowing red hair that falls over her shoulders, with a hairpin subtly keeping part of her hair in place. Her purple eyes have a calm and focused expression, giving her an air of quiet determination. She wears a white jacket with red accents over a black high-collared top, paired with a dark purple hakama tied with a matching belt at the waist. The jacket features simple clean details, and she has an accessory strapped to her left arm. This was Mafia UZUMAKI, the current leader of the UZUMAKI clan from the bunch of survivors. Akeno remembered Mafia's origin. She was one of the survivors of the UZUMAKI clan massacre, aside from Kushina and Karen. And the sole leader of them. She is the great-granddaughter of the second Hokage of Konoha Tabarama Senju. Her clan had been living in hiding in both Naruto's world and Issei's world. How they got into Issei's world. The survivors of UZUMAKI clan led by her that had escaped the destruction of Yuzashii Agakure using a special space-time teleportation seal and ended up in the DXD and has been rebuilding their clan ever since. She was found by Issei in the hidden forests of America, and Issei managed to convince her to head to his faction where they would be safe and she could continue rebuilding and restoring her clan. Amazed by having a permanent home, with no fear of moving out in case the people of this world find out about them, Mafayu chose the more eastern location of the faction where she would rebuild the clan. Once this was done, and when Mafayu saw Issei having the Rinnegan, she offered to train him in its abilities, since she was well knowledgeable in it. She also theorized that Issei can use even Sharingan's abilities, which involved improved sight and depth perception, to name a few. And with the hyperbolic time chamber, it was easier for her to train him and spend time teaching him. Getting back to the present, Akeno looked at Mafayu and Hagoromo watching Issei meditate, and she widened her eyes, seeing a projection of Issei himself, and in his opposite side, it was Naruto Uzumaki. She recognized Issei's Rinnegan ability, his own personal ability he developed, and that was physic projection simulation. This unique ability allows Issei to synchronize and generate projections of himself and people, creating a virtual simulation. This ability is used for Issei to fight against his enemies both past, present and future. Based on Issei's memory, the projections can use their abilities and moves without a problem. In the simulation world, both of the people fight in any outcome that happens, whether it be a loss or a victory, whether it be a draw also. That outcome is recorded and inserted in Issei's muscle memory, which spreads into his body, making it seem like an actual training. Issei soon gains the experience of the battle and remembers it. Akeno saw Naruto and Issei clash, with Issei using his boosted gear and Rinnegan, abilities which involved limbo clones, and even space-time teleportation strikes to attack him. Naruto blocked it with his own abilities, and even used Rasengan and Rasen Shuriken to attack him, with him barely dodging and avoiding the attacks. Issei was able to keep up as time passed, eventually keeping up with Naruto's stronger modes like Sage mode and even Nine Tails Chakra mode and even Kyuubi mode, using his own Diabolo's Dragon God with Rinnegan's abilities to keep up with it. Akeno soon noticed Naruto screaming in pain due to what seems to be black flames on his body. Akeno recognized them to be Amaterasu, which was the Mangekyo Sharingan ability belonging to Sasuke Uchiha. Using flames of such can be used to be never-ending flames that can keep burning till there is nothing left. He can combine it with penetrate and can cause breaching abilities as well. The way he got them was because of Hagoromo's chakra being the origin chakra, allowing him to access Sharingan as well, which he can switch his eyes between regular, Sharingan-based and Rinnegan-based. That was the first key to unlock this unique ability. The second key was his body, which was made from the flesh of Great Red, who was the dragon god of dreams and has the infinite power of office. Using dream manipulation and infinity, he was able to recreate Mangekyo abilities like Amaterasu, which, while not exactly the same, function very similar to the original. Naruto was soon defeated, falling to the ground. Soon the projections faded away into nothingness as they went inside Issei. Mafayu, who recorded the progress alongside Hagoromo, gave a nod to each other as she spoke. "Issei, you are done." A deep breath fell from Issei's mouth as the aura release was gone, which was chakra release. Issei looked at her and spoke. "So how did it go?" "You did well this time. I'd say your chances of beating Naruto and fighting your other enemies after that is 66%. Out of the total simulations of 12, you won 8 times. Issei gave a nod. His win rate was stated to be mostly 66%, not bad, since he would have to take on other enemies like Surziches and the others in the future. He had been training for almost a year and he is still using. I'd say good enough, but not enough for it. I need to get the rate to at least 80 and above. I can't let them harm my loved ones." Issei was aware of Naruto gunning for his parents. And with Surziches being infatuated by him, he would have agreed to hunt them down. Fortunately, they don't come after America, which means that they are safe for now. However, that may change due to Issei being flagged by that foolish Surziches and Naruto as a criminal, causing more and more chaos. "Issei." Mafayu became concerned as Hagoromo spoke. "Boy, as much as I agree with you and that foolish son of mine's decision, you need to give your body some rest." "But," Issei retorted in response as someone spoke from the surrounding location. "They are right, Ice." Issei turned around to see Akeno with a normal look on her face as she walked to him and spoke. "Pushing yourself will only harm instead of help. Please, stay calm." Issei looked at her and nodded. He was exhausted and his heavy breathing was a sign of this. It was no secret that Issei has been pushing his limits for everyone around him. He had to do so, else he fears that Surziches and his supporters will destroy everything. Akeno hugged him from the behind as she spoke. "It's okay. I know it is not easy for you to let go of it. But, you pushing and hurting yourself for us, that is something neither of us want. We will gain peace. And we aren't pushovers, remember?" Issei started to calm down as Hagoromo took note of this. It was only Irina, Roswis, Ravel, Kuroka and Akeno herself that can calm Issei down. Others like Yasaka and Claire can also calm him down, but it was these 5 that was the most effective in doing so. He really has loved ones to care for him. Why did Naruto turn out like this? Hagoromo asked to himself, as the boy only remembered the misery and hatred the villagers showed him, and the love that those that didn't discard him was all but forgotten. He couldn't help but feel ashamed and anger at himself for not doing more for Naruto, since he showed more hope and promise than Sasuke, and all of Ashura Otsutsuki's reincarnations were good and noble, rarely breaking and turning evil, unlike Indra Otsutsuki's reincarnations who did the opposite. They soon split up, as Issei looked at Mafayu and spoke. "Thank you for your help, Mafayu. If it wasn't for you, figuring this out would have been harder." Mafayu shook her head and responded with a gentle smile. "No, it's fine. I don't have much to do, and it is the least I could do since you gave us a home where we don't have to live in fear and run around like nomads." Issei gave a nod as they all said their goodbyes, returning to Issei's faction. With Hagoromo returning to the afterlife so that he can come back anytime he wants to help Issei. The faction was well hidden in the dimensional gap so that no one can gain access to, and even Surziches is not stupid enough to fight against Great Red, for now at least. Once they headed home, they were greeted by Mickey and Goru, who all decided to eat their lunch for the day. Scene change. Hades' domain, Underworld, 10:30 p.m. A figure was looking at the chaos in the underworld. He was described to have the appearance of a tall skeleton dressed in attire worn by high priests, gives off a creepy aura. Despite having no eyes, his eye sockets can glow to give the appearance of eyes. This was Hades, the god of the death, from the Greek origin. The second was a figure took the form of a phantom with a jet black body with a muscular build and glowing fire-like eyes and has horns on his head. His body also gives out a chaotic aura. This was Angramanyu, the evil god of Persian origin. Have the others arrived? Hades asked, to which Angramanyu responded. They should be arriving soon. Did you hear the news of that brat being replaced? Hades spoke mockingly as he continued. Of course, who hasn't? It has become worldwide news at this point. The fact those idiots actually decided to broadcast it thinking that it would garner support from everyone, instead it backfired on them big time. Well, it's not our problem, we will do as we planned on doing, we will cooperate with them, since our goals do technically align with them, sort of. We will pretend to work with them until it would be time to eliminate them. And it makes our job more easier since their original pillar is not there and there isn't civil war brewing on. Angramanyu took note of this and understood that this would be their right chance to strike. He looked at Hades and asked. Do you think the Seker Yuite and Hacker Yuite would help them, Hades? They still have loved ones on their list. Well, technically we can remove some of them to not provoke either of them. And once we are strong enough and gathered enough power, we can have a confrontation with them. Angramanyu gave a nod, aware that as time passed they would get stronger and have enough power to defeat Issei. Well, a smart and advantageous move, they also need to take account of Issei getting strong as well. One small mistake could ruin them completely. Soon enough, a huge magic presence had arrived in the realm, as Hades responded with a toothy grin. They are here. The first is a beautiful young woman with the cute face of a child that has long black hair and with pointy ears. She wears a cute frilly dress called Godly Virgin Killer Clothes that has a corset jumper skirt. Her body also gives out a tremendous dark aura. This was Nyx. The second was a handsome tall man appearing to be in his 20s. Often seen wearing a smirk, Tartarus dark purple hair is long and wavy, reaching his shoulders, even whilst the majority is tied up in a very large ponytail. Additionally, his messy bangs all but obscure his dark, slanted eyes. He wore a long black jacket trimmed with a light-colored flame pattern, the lapels are a matching lighter color as well. The cuffs of his jacket are rolled up, revealing a light-colored inside, which contrasts the black outside of his jacket, and have a black line cutting through the edge of the fabric. The jacket itself is tattered and splits into 4 torn fabric segments at the tail. Beneath the jacket, he wears a frilly black V-necked shirt, lined in a lighter color, that closes down the middle, and is adorned with a buckle just below his clavicle. Just below this is a piece of fabric that he keeps over this shirt, but under his jacket, that circles the majority of the lower half of his torso. This was Tartarus in his human form. The third was a dark figure whose hair is long, flowing, and appears to be silver or white, contrasting against the darkness of their form. The eyes aren't clearly visible in this image, likely hidden or shaded by the overall darkness, giving an eerie, ominous vibe. Their clothing or armor features sharp angular designs, highlighted with light blue accents on the chest and arms, and they appear to have large dragon-like features on their back, possibly wings or projections. This was Erebus. I believe you have heard of the latest news, correct? Hades asked, to which Tartarus responded for the 3. We did, shame they got rid of the old pillar for someone who can't even properly handle the chaos between the factions. He claims to have caused a unity of the people from the elemental nations to fight a common enemy. Yet, he can't handle the aftermath of them getting rid of Issei Hyoudou and taking his place. Tell me about it, that boy has so much of darkness and hatred inside of him. It is suffocating to think that he is that boy, Issei's replacement. Hyoudou spoke with slight anger, sensing the darkness inside his heart, to which Nyx agreed in response. She then spoke, her tone having anger and sadness. I agree, but his past was haunting to actually cause this to happen. We have to consider that too. Hyoudou had an amused expression and asked. Oh sister, do you have feelings? Nope, I don't. Nyx spoke with a blunt tone, as she shook her head and spoke. Anyways Hades, what is the plan now? Hyoudou is out of the picture, along with Lucifer, so what should we do now? Hades took a deep breath and spoke. How about you all settle down? We need to discuss on a lot of things. The other gods nodded in agreement as they did so, to which Hades spoke. For starters, we can use this as our chance to attack the leaders, but we must do it in a manner that it would harm the factions. There are still some dragons like Tiamat who are neutral, and other beings that don't choose any side like goddesses such as Hell, also haven't chosen any sides. We should continue what we are doing and find ways of eliminating those of the leaders and their pillar. The gods thought for a moment, and Tartarus spoke. Maybe harming their pillar. Using abilities that can harm that brat's capabilities. I would suggest we try using holy light magic, and we can use Nyx's godly killer virgin clothing too. Nyx cuts Tartarus off, speaking with a slight blush on her face. It's not going to work, Tartarus. From rumors, I have heard he already lost his virginity to Rhea's Gremory. I doubt it would work on him. There was nothing but pin drop silence, which soon turned awkward due to what Nyx said. How she came to know was still debatable, but she knew that was what matters. This was not something I was expecting. Hades spoke with a blunt tone, as Angramanu spoke. And they say the pillar is perverted. Anyways, change of topic. Nyx, do you have that girl Engvald with you? Hades spoke, trying to change the discussion topic, as Nyx responded, shaking her head of those thoughts, speaking. Not yet, I haven't headed to Grigori to kidnap her, but I plan on doing it soon. Do it soon, her power of controlling literal dragons will be useful to our goals. Nyx nodded, as Hyoudou responded. Sister, I will be asking King Yema to get help. Nyx responded again with a nod. Tartarus then spoke. I may release the titans into the field, the more help we can get, the better. Hades cuts him off, speaking. No, absolutely not, many of them are savage beasts, we shouldn't get them out. Not now, not ever. Hades's voice had fear in it, knowing full well that if they get released, it would cause catastrophic damage even more, as Tartarus only looked at him with an amused expression and responded. Fine, if that is what you want. Hades gave a nod, as he continued. Aside from that, we need to find a way to eliminate the Sekiryuute and Hakuryuute if they become a problem. That is why, Engvald is key, but aside from that we can still use Samuel to harm them. But we must perform it discreetly. That's fine, but we also are going to need an army of our own, and as much as I hate to say it. Tartarus trailed off, as Hades spoke in response. Yes, Tartarus, I am aware, and I have plans for that as well. Then, what have you planned? Hyoudou, who remained silent, finally spoke in response, as Hades responded. I still have the mother of devils Lilith captive with me. It turns out that Lucifer's cruelty even extended to his own wife as well. She is in comatose, and I can use her to birth devils that can add to my army, using the Book of Lucifer in an asexual manner. At this point, she is just a lump of meat, and I am wondering on if she would be put out of her misery. Hades spoke with slight pity towards the mother of all devils. Hades's words were seemingly agreed by the group. She couldn't be killed due to her use and value. Nyx was sort of taken aback by this, but she agreed regardless. She was part of the alliance, and she had to do what they all say. It was the only way she could get some company and peace. I see. Then in that case, we will do what we have asked. Try to recruit more people to our causes. Hades spoke, as they all agreed. They soon left the table and headed back to their dimensions and work. Once Nyx was out of Hades's dimension, she felt a sudden pang in her heart. She was always alone, after her brother left her in her own darkness dimension. She wondered if Engvald would fill the void of her loneliness with companionship. Scene change. Issei's house, Camden, New Jersey, 10:30 p.m. Issei was with Vali, Akeno, Ross with Senarina, as they decided to discuss on the things that have happened. Issei spoke in response. With what has happened? We should plan to deal with them accordingly. Correct, Hyoudou, the factions have been becoming more problematic. I was able to get Tobio's team before they can use them for their own agenda. But the problem is that, the pure blooded devil factions, the fallen angels that went for your removal, the angels that didn't fall due to the tweaking of the system to prevent falls like this, and finally the gods that chose to replace a hero from another word with a pervert, are going to cause problems. Eventually causing a full-blown war. Vali spoke with concern. Everything that the alliance and treaty that they had worked so hard for is going to be blown war. It is going to be destroyed because of some prideful beings that wanted to preserve their reputation and status over everything else. I fear this is the case too, Vali. Issei added in response, as he continued with a frustrated tone. Idiots like these are going to destroy what they have built for all the centuries. It is really frustrating on how things have become. Tell me about it. Azazel tells me that Shemhazai has been forcing him, Barakiel and Penemu to side with him once again, but all of them rejected him to his face. It was clear that in a way Naruto showed the true faces to us and told us on who we can trust and who we can't. Issei only nodded as Irina kept her hand on him and spoke. So darling, what's the plan now? We play it safe. I think you three should stay here. I am referring to you girls. The three nodded in agreement as the girls agreed on it. Roswitz then spoke. Auden has been hounding on me for your location. Especially after you rescuing your parents, he wants to find you and I have seen him afraid. That all fucker. Issei in his anger activated his 3 Tomo Sharingan as Volley took note of this and asked Albion mentally. He was calmed down by the 3 girls holding his hand or in Irina's case embracing him. So this is the Sharingan I have been hearing of. Interesting. Volley asked, to which Albion responded. It is, your rival is getting stronger. You must be ready for it. Hey Albion. Mind ask you something? Albion looked at Volley having an idea of what he is going to ask as he continued. Yes Volley, I also see that killing your rival is not worth it. Especially a rival like Issei, and I wonder if Drake would agree for our rivalry to be our last. Although, there will be one last inevitable battle. I agree, wonder if I will get my own Dojutsu or something else to keep up with Issei. Volley was deep in his thoughts before he shook his thoughts. He has the blood of Lucifer and he decided to get strong on his own terms. But he was curious, pondering if Hagoromo or someone else would give him chakra to catch up with Issei. Anyways Volley, you still have the Lucifer mansion right? Roswitz asked to the Lucifer half-blood, who gave a nod and spoke. I do, but I plan on moving to Arthur's place. That way we can be safe from Surziches and Naruto. Arthur really doesn't want Lafayette to hang out in the same location where that UZUMAKI is. That's good, but keep an eye on that place, you know why I am asking you, right? Volley gave a nod, speaking in response. Dark light secrets. Correct, don't let them get to it. Especially Surziches, who knows what that Siskin would do with it. Volley gave a nod of agreement, aware of the situation. He then spoke with a normal tone. Worry not, Hyoudou. I am not going to let that Siskin get his hands on secrets that my ancestors have worked so hard on. My pride as a true Lucifer wouldn't let them gain it and use it to their own benefit. Issei and the others gave a nod as he spoke. Volley, I would suggest to try finding a way to move the secrets from the base location to a different one. That is a good idea. Volley spoke with a thought as he asked. Does your faction have room for us? Of course, it is bigger than the underworld, heaven and Grigori combined. There is still a shit ton of land left for you guys. You can even moor your entire estate there. As long as we don't cause problems, it would be fine. Volley gave a nod to Issei's words as they all noted this to happen. They decided to discuss on what needs to be done next and on how to deal with the factions next. Scene change. Underworld, Gremory Estate, 10:30 AM. Surziches was in his office, waiting for Serafal, who needs to arrive as soon as she can. It didn't help that things are getting worse for him. Issei's departure and with him being now seen as the enemy of the underworld, people have been turning on him. Issei Hyoudou. Surziches growled, his biggest mistake was letting him get strong enough to cause so much problems. He hated Issei even more now, and with his own wife and son being distant towards him, as they both loved and cherished Issei. Grafia herself was planning to divorce from him, with even Milikas in support. Surziches believed that Issei was the reason why Grafia wants to split from him. However, that was far from the case. It turns out Surziches just became a neglectful husband and father after Issei's departure, focusing on his sister's happiness with Naruto and his work as a Satan. I should have killed you when you were at your weakest. You damned good-for-nothing pervert. Surziches believed that they would have achieved peace even without him. His delusion of thinking that Issei didn't do anything was something that he set his mints at too. However, that there was also a sinister reason on why Surziches didn't want Issei to be the pillar. He was afraid of Issei at this point. It took the boy a year to reach a level that could beat a super devil like RageRevan. His sheer determination to beat and destroy those that would harm him and his loved ones was something to be feared. And that was just approximation. Surziches knew that his current body, which had both Great Red and Office, was something truly terrifying. He defied death from Samuel's poison, and he was able to befriend beings like Office and Great Red. Then, we have the fact that he defeated dragons like Apophis and Layden, to name a few. And with the help of others, he even defeated a god like Loki. And when Naruto showed up suggesting that he could take Issei's place and believed that he would use the boosted gear for a better use, better than the pervert, and claimed that he managed to get the 5 elemental nations together and can even keep their reputation better, since if Issei would continue, he would surely destroy their reputation with his perverted antics. The net result, almost all leaders agreed, those that didn't refused to cooperate with the factions. Serafal soon came inside, however she was bleeding from her head, as Surziches rushed to her and exclaimed. Serafal, what happened? Rioters attacked us, they threw stones and other materials on us. My peerage had to hold the attackers off as much as they could to make it here. Serafal was helped by Surziches, who once again as usual cursed Issei Hyoudou for his situation. He then spoke with anger. Damn him, if only he had just accepted handing the boosted gear and accepted what we would have wanted, we wouldn't be in this situation. Serafal seemingly agreed to this, she also hated Issei for turning Sona Citri, her own sister, against her. It's a good thing that her parents agree to this, else this would have been more problematic. Sotan has also vanished from the Devils completely, only showing up at Oro's academy to look after it. But we can't go there because of those damned rebels, and Ajuka siding with them, even Falbium has turned on us. Surziches gritted his teeth in anger, day after day they are losing more and more territory and support. He hated what was happening to him, and all it was because of Issei not accepting to give what they wanted. We need to think of something, else a civil war will be brewing. We need to pose more stricter laws to deal with those riots. Surziches spoke in response, as he continued. If we do this, make laws and traffic more serious, then we would deal with the rebels even more. And to top it all off, the factions siding with that damned dragon preventing us to go to several locations. I fear that Riaz would be harmed by the Shinto faction any day now. But she has been persistent to head there till she finishes her studies. I am not against it, since I would deal with the Shinto faction if necessary. They won't harm her as long as I am around. Surziches declared with anger, he would destroy the entire Shinto faction if necessary, since they would only harm his sister, and he was not going to let that happen. Even the Yao case wouldn't be spared if that happens. Then we also have to deal with Ajuka, he is only going to cause problems by siding with that damned pervert. We will put some stricter laws to prevent this from happening, and even strip their titles. Serafal spoke with anger, as Ajuka had found out some serious things, and had kept them hidden from Surziches and Serafal. Something that angered the two Satans. It was found out that he had kept the evil peace extractor away from him, and he hated him for that. Yes, we will. Surziches spoke, as he continued. I will go and check on Riaz, she needs some help. Surziches headed outside, as Serafal followed him suit. Surziches firmly believes that Issei was the one that did this to her sister, and even messed up with her head. He vowed to make them all pay, unaware this would be the start of their downfall. That's it guys. Thanks for watching and supporting us. See you in the next part.